This content is brought to you by Lair magazine. Are you a busy dungeon master without enough time to create content for your D&D game? Would you like professional, pre-made 5th edition adventures and other resources you can drag and drop into your existing campaign? If so, Lair magazine has exactly what you need. Every issue of Lair magazine comes with 2 5th edition adventures, maps designed for use on virtual tabletops, and other dungeon master resources. New monsters, puzzles, traps, magic items, NPCs, pre-made encounters, and more. Become a DM Lair patron today to get a new issue of Lair magazine every month, along with loads of bonus content, such as additional 5th edition adventures and map packs with even more digital maps. DM Lair patrons also get extra perks, such as playing in D&D games with me, voting on the videos I make, access to my VIP Discord channel, a monthly video hangout over Zoom, and more. Click that link below to learn more and become a DM Lair patron today. What's up? How's it going, folks? I heard somebody say echo. Was there an echo when I was playing that one thing? Was something going on there? Player Corner, hello. Cardiac Bean, what's up? Tashio, hello. There was an echo during it. Oh, why was there an echo? All right. I will make a note of that. I'll have to fix that. All right, thanks, dude. It was during that video, right? That's the first time I've done that, so it doesn't surprise me that something didn't go properly with it. Alright, rock and roll. Joan Dudley, hello. He Dobby Gaming, hello. Can't tank. Amber, hello. What's up? Garuda, Kyle, what's up? Brent, hello. Enma Fries, what's up? Animal. What's up, Animal? Garuda's like, okay. Listen, I'm a new DM. And I have lots of questions. I'm gonna bombard you with questions. Brace yourself. So this is the Garuda. I'm just gonna give you a heads up. This is the way this works. There's gonna be tons of people throwing tons and tons of questions, and I can't keep up with them all. So I will do my best. I will say that channel members and super chats always get priority, so that is always an option. I will obviously do my best though. Feeding your dogs? Nice. Toxico Kami, hello. Pick your questions like you pick your nose. Haphazardly? In the car? In full view of everyone? While standing in line at Taco Bell? I don't know how you pick your nose, but I'm just throwing out some options there. Seth C, hello. What's up? Good to see you, dude. Darn it. Why is there an echo there? Aw. I think I know why there was an echo. I think I can fix it. We're gonna try it again. Once we get the show on the road with the official start, I have an experiment and we're gonna see if it works. I think I might know how to fix the echo. Ooh, hold on a second. Oh, wait. Oh, I think I know what it was doing it. It's probably because it was sending my desktop audio or something. I think I know how to fix it. We're gonna do an experiment here. Garuda, thank you, sir, for becoming Young Dragon. I appreciate that.
Karuda's like, okay, Luke, you asked for it. What do I think about a blatant power metagamer hybrid players? I've kicked them out of my group before. I don't mind power gaming. Power gaming is distinct from metagaming. Power gaming, it's a play. You know, they like to build powerful characters. That's not a problem. Wait a second. Sorry, I'm getting my terms confused. Min-maxing is not a problem. That is just a legitimate style of play. Power gaming is totally different, and I despise it with a passion. If you combine power gaming with metagaming, you have like a monstrous beast that needs to be like quelled or removed. Yeah, that's my gut response on that. Owen Davies, thank you, sir, for the adult dragon. Really appreciate that, buddy. Oh, Owen is like, yo, Luke, I got questions too now. You are my answer slave. You're gonna answer them now, buddy. Yeah. Where's the bud? What bud? You forgot to renew it? Oh. Been watching my videos? Nice. Epic Level Craft, hello. Raggy, what's up in Iceland, dude? Penguin Butt is working. I can tell you that because I'm her employer, and she's catching up on work, so I don't think she'll be here. Oh, look, a lot of the questions I answer are edition agnostic. It doesn't matter what edition of the game you're asking about. A lot of the questions are generic and applicable enough that they can go across editions. Shoot, a lot of the topics I talk about don't even have anything to do with D&D specifically. Like, if you take probably at least half of my videos on my channel, you can take the concepts in them and apply them to almost any RPG, more than likely. Some of them are a little bit more specific to like D&D perhaps, and maybe some are 5th edition, but a lot of the stuff I talk about does not address 5th edition specifically. It's much broader sort of advice. So yeah, you can ask whatever questions you want. I have experience with some of the older editions, some more than others, obviously. Owen, we represent the butt as an army. Okay, let's start this. All right, I think I have a way I'm gonna see if I can solve my problem too.
This content is brought to you by Lair magazine. Are you a busy dungeon master without enough time to create content for your D&D game? Would you like professional, pre-made 5th edition adventures and other resources you can drag and drop into your existing campaign? If so, Lair magazine has exactly what you need. Every issue of Lair magazine comes with 2 5th edition adventures, maps designed for use on virtual tabletops, and other dungeon master resources. New monsters, puzzles, traps, magic items, NPCs, pre-made encounters, and more. Become a DM Lair patron today to get a new issue of Lair magazine every month, along with loads of bonus content, such as additional 5th edition adventures and map packs with even more digital maps. DM Lair patrons also get extra perks, such as playing in D&D games with me, voting on the videos I make, access to my VIP Discord channel, a monthly video hangout over Zoom, and more. Click that link below to learn more and become a DM Lair patron today.
All right, I figured out the echo. Woo! I know how to fix it, kind of. Now I gotta fix it in a better way that doesn't manually involve me sliding stuff around. Anyway, welcome to the Q&A, folks. We're gonna be sitting here for 3 hours. You're asking me questions, I'll give you answers. We're gonna play around, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna relax, I'm gonna goof around, I'm going to enjoy myself during this live stream. So if I'm not all down to business answering questions, if we take a look at my cats, for instance, or we goof around a little bit, then, you know, you're just gonna have to track me down, and or you can file a complaint with my complaint department. I would happily forward you to Sunny. She's more than happy to answer all of your complaints. They will be dealt with in due time. So yeah, but anyway, Q&A, chilling out. And also, if you're watching this on the replay, we are going to have down in the description and the pinned comment timestamps for all the questions that I answer tonight. So you will conveniently be able to go to the things that you find interesting and that you would like to hear my wonderful advice on, I suppose. So yeah, look at the timestamps down there if you're catching this on the replay. If you are live, then you just gotta listen to the whole thing, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do tonight is we're going to give a shout out to all of my wonderful, awesome patrons and YouTube members. These folks here help keep the lights on around here. Their continual monthly support helps me do everything that I do, creating all my free YouTube videos, all of the free resources on the DMlair.com. There's tons and tons, by the way, of free Dungeon Master resources, adventures, everything on the DMlair.com that you can get and use in your games for free, 100% free. My live streams, everything that I do, and Lair magazine, obviously these folks help support all of that, and I'm deeply appreciative. I could not do what I do without my patrons and YouTube members, so thank you so much. And then these folks here, right here, they supported a higher level, and they have paid me in bribes, yeah, to read their names off every stream. And I have a cat here that needs attention, so let's try to do this. I'm distracted. I'll mess up the names even more than I normally do. 5e Magic Shop, Aerospatial, Alex H, Alex T, Amanda W, Ambers, Anthony L, Arutha, Bailbon, Brad A, Brandon, Brand C, Brand S, Candy Sora, Chase O, Chris C, Chris E, Chris H, Chris R, Chris Y, Cody B, Contrary Gravy, Crispy Cucumber, Dalius G, David M, Dragon Demon, Drexus, Dresna, Dylan S, Ed R, Edward L, Endorian 72, Ericos, Fallon, Frank C, Gary, Goliath Cleric, Gravy Chorn, Garamunder H, Heretic, Hydra Slayer, Iron Lord 79, Izzy T, Jacob S, Jake L, James L, Jessica J, Joshin B, Joel L, John A, John H, John N, Jorel, Joseph H, Josh S, Joshua G, Josue S, Justin N, Kale S, KK, Ken S, Kevin F, Kevin P, Kezides, Kirby, Kyle G, Kyle M, Kyriako, Labraworks, Leopold X92, Lodwick B, Lord Kembiak, Lori S, Michael C, Michael H, Mr. Lonniknu, sorry, Mr. T, Mumbles, Not a Bard, Owen D. By the way, Owen writes a lot of the stuff on DMlair.com too. It's really cool. Thanks, buddy. Patrick A, Paul B, Paul H, Paul R, Paul Y, Penguin Butt, PRP published author, Rachel S, Radiance Guardians, Ramus, Ramsey M, Raslick, Race W, Rebecca K, Kenner C, Rob M, Ron H, Ryan G, Sakura, Scott F, Shane L, Simon, Smash Skull, Snapbragger, Son of a Sofa Man, Sophie M, Stetson H, Stephen A, Stephen F, Tactical Tokens, the old DM, Talking Napkin, the Pickle, the Casual Nerd, the new Bad Hombre, Theta Tag, Tiger 500, Tim Black, Todd M, Tom, Tony M, Tristan W, Tyler R, Vincent G, William, Xavier H, Zach. Thank you. You guys are all awesome. Okay, and then we're going to talk about the charity we are currently raising money for. We are raising money for cystic fibrosis. All of your tips will go toward cystic fibrosis. Once we hit $500, I will make a donation to them. You can see right down below on the screen, there's a red bar going across the screen. We have $50 raised out of $500. In the past, we have raised, I think, $585 for the Capital Area Humane Society where I live. We donated to them. We raised $500 for the Boys and Girls Club of Lansing, also where I live. We donated to them. And now we're raising money for cystic fibrosis. In case you don't know, it says right here on the page, it's a genetic disorder that affects the lungs, pancreas, and other organs. It basically makes it hard to breathe, is my understanding. So we are trying to raise money for them to help hopefully find a cure, if not just make quality of life and additional treatments available for folks. So if you would like to help support this, you may do so by tipping. There's some links down in the chat where you can do so. And deeply appreciative. Thank you very much. All right. I've done all of my plugs. We can get to business now. All right. Mr. Gore's like, that list keeps getting longer. It does. It does. I keep getting more appreciative too as that list grows. Joan Dudley's like, who needs air? I don't need air. I just breathe the coffee. Jack Robo, hello. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man. I'm like, I see your name. I see what you type. Can't literally see you. Just in case you're worried. He's like, all right. Okay, here we go. Let's jump into the questions here. Garuda Dasa, new member. Thank you so much for becoming a member. And because you became a member, guess what? Your questions get priority. All right, we're gonna see how we do. Oh yeah, let's click the little button. How do you manage players who individually play competently, but when in a group their collective D&D IQ drops dramatically? I don't manage them at all. I as players, I don't do anything to manage them or direct them or help them or not help them. I just let them do their thing. What I do on the back end is if their D&D IQ drops, which means that they make bad decisions, they get in trouble with encounters and that sort of thing, and overall they make the game more challenging for themselves because of how they play the game, then what I would do is I would just adjust the difficulty of the game down a little bit. So if I have a level 5 group, but they struggle with ordinary level 5 encounters that I would give to, say, my Sword Coast Guard group or my Curse of Strahd group, who is very, very competent. If I have a similar group, but they can't handle that stuff, then I'm gonna ratchet things down a little bit. I'm gonna make my encounters maybe for a level 3 group, see how they do, until I get a feel for what they're actually capable of. So I will just curate the game, the encounters and everything, so that what I'm throwing at them is in line with what they're capable of handling. One of my other groups for a while was in the same boat. They weren't bad. They certainly weren't bad players. They're really good players, but they weren't able to handle some of the challenges I would constantly throw at them. So I had to ratchet things down a little bit. They just couldn't take it. Somebody was going down and dying constantly. And I was like, I don't really run. I run challenging games, but my goal is hopefully people don't die all the time. If I see people dying constantly, then that's a sign to me that I'm probably throwing too much at them. I need to ratchet it back a little bit. I want there to be challenge and I want there to be the possibility of death, but if they're constantly dying, then that's probably too much. So anyway, that was a group I had to ratchet it back a little bit. So that's what I do. Owen Davies, woo, new member. Says, I have a number of players who are struggling to roleplay in all of the pillars of D&D: combat, social encounters, and exploration. Do you have any advice on how to help them improve? How do you struggle? So the question is, how do you struggle to roleplay in combat? And then how do you struggle to roleplay social encounters and exploration? I think the very first thing that I would do as a dungeon master is I would set the example as much as possible. So if we're talking about social interactions, role-playing and social interactions, then I try to role-play my character. And so I'll think about given my character and who they are, my NPC, what would they do or say in this given situation? And then I would role-play accordingly. It also happens to do with like what I say. Part of that, when I role-play NPCs, is I use special voices for them. And by setting that example, then my players can see that. One of the things I might do too, if I know my players need help and guidance on role playing, is I might talk out loud from time to time for my NPCs. I might say something like, well, my players do something. Well, let me see. My tavern keeper, he really just he wants there to be peace. He wants to make money. He wants to go home to his wife and kids. That's all he really cares about. So these people with weapons that are threatening him, we're just gonna be quiet and let them, talk big and stuff. We're not gonna try to do anything here. I just want them to go away and drink their beer. So I might talk out loud so my players can see that thought process when I'm deciding how to roleplay that NPC. Another thing I might do is, no matter where they are, if there's a player with like a paladin this actually happened with my youngling group. I had a player she was a fighter. She had tons of hit points. She had an armor class of 18 or 20, I can't remember exactly, and she never wanted to go first. She was terrified of going first. She didn't want to open doors. She always wanted to stay to the back of the group, and she was a great sword wielding fighter. And the other players were a rogue, I think a wizard, and then a ranger, a ranged ranger with a bow and arrow. And I told the player, I tried to explain to her, listen, you are a fighter. You have a heavy armor class. You have a big weapon. Things can't hit you that hard because of your armor. They can't hit you that easily. And when they do hit you, you have tons of hit points. So you're going to be fine. So the rest of your party are all very squishy and they're getting their butts kicked. In fact, the ranger, horrible armor class, not very many hit points compared to the fighter. And the ranger, she loved going first. She was going first all the time, which got her in trouble. And then the girl running the fighter never wanted to go first. And so like I had that conversation, listen, your fighter, your role in the party is kind of to go up front and protect your companions and absorb hits and fight things. So I was guiding her, I was coaching her in how to role play her character. In this case, it was exploration for sure, because going first and opening doors and that's part of the exploration part of role play. And then obviously it had to do with combat as well, because she never wanted to go up against things in combat. And so part of it had to do with coaching her on that too. And so if I notice that somebody's having trouble, what I want to do is I want to give them very specific pieces of advice, and you need to present it in the right way. So you don't want to be like, you're doing that wrong. This is the way you should do it. You should present it in a way such as that it's palatable, so that it might be well received. Now, remember too, that unsolicited feedback is often unwelcome feedback. So what you might do too, like if you just go out and start telling them how to improve, they might take offense to that because they didn't ask you for your help. So you might say, hey guys, I've noticed as a dungeon master that you guys are new players, and there are some elements of role play that if you're interested in, I had some ideas of how we might improve our role play at the table. And it was improve our role play at the table. I didn't specifically call out certain players or anything. I just said, hey, if you guys are interested, I have some ideas of how we could improve our role play. And then the players, if they express interest, then we could start talking about that. So I would approach it delicately. Make sure you have specific examples in your mind, specific things that you could talk about that would help them, and approach it from that direction is what I would say. And then, hopefully it goes well. But just remember, sometimes people don't like it when you give them advice and they didn't ask for it. So it is a topic to approach a little bit tenderly, I would say. All right. Hidobi Gaming, thank you for becoming a Young Dragon member. Appreciate that. Seth C, thank you for becoming a Young Dragon member. Really appreciate that. So obviously you guys your questions are prioritized now. Have they asked any questions? No, not yet. I'm sure they will. They're like, all right, Luke, answer our questions now. You mean telling your players they suck isn't a good idea? This is never a good idea. Not if you want them to, remain at your table and have good attitudes and not hate you. Yeah, totally. You're very welcome, Owen. I'm happy to help, dude. That's probably, I don't know if I've ever answered that specific question before. I had to think about that one, because there are some questions you get where you've thought about it, you've got it a million times, and you just, I had to think about that one. Keith Johnson, what's up, dude? They got you, Seth. I see yours. Have you ever used artifacts as they're presented raw? Have you ever had a party with multiple artifacts? If so, how stupidly hard does it break the game? By the time you introduce artifacts into your D&D game, your players should be fairly high level. We're talking 15 to level 17, almost assuredly, before they're going to start getting artifacts. So they're already going to be really powerful. And artifacts are cool, and artifacts have a lot of really awesome things that they can do. But by the time a group of players gets to level 15 or 17, they are insanely powerful themselves. Forget about magic items. In and of themselves, they are capable of wonders. Spellcasters especially. can just do crazy stuff with their spells that will blow your mind. And then melee types and all of that, they have damage output that's just insane. So by the time you get to the higher levels, introducing an artifact, yeah, it's gonna bump their power a little bit, but it's not as impactful as you would think. Because by the time they get to the higher levels, your players are gonna have all of these abilities that their characters have, and then they're gonna have these magic items. And every time they're in a combat or an encounter, they're gonna have to say, all right, do I cast my crazy awesome 7th level spell? Or do I use this thing from the artifact? I might use this spell. And if they don't use the spell and they use the artifact, it's an opportunity cost. They're not using that super powerful spell in that particular moment. And so you're gonna find that they're not quite as game breaking as you might otherwise think. And a lot of times, in all honesty, by the time you get to the high level of the game, players have a lot of magic items and they forget about half of them as well. They're on their character sheet and they just forget to use them. I cannot tell you, I have a group, my Ancient Dragon group right now, it amazes me. Many of them have fairly decent magic items and they don't get used a whole lot. They don't get used a whole lot. I think it's a combination of two things. One, they forget they have them. And two, their own spells and powers are better and cooler. And they have like some rare and very rare. I gave them some really nice magic items. They fought a black dragon that was insanely hard and they got a really good hoard of treasure from that. But between forgetting about them and having other character abilities that are more powerful or they just think are cooler, they tend to not use the magic items a whole lot that I have observed. So, and there was another group, my Curse of Strahd group, that was my Sword Coast Guard group. They got an artifact. They got the Eye of Vecna. I think it was the Eye of Vecna. And they didn't use it. They were just like, no, we're not putting it in because there are too many negative drawbacks, and they never used it. So there's always because some of those artifacts, depending on which one it is that you give to your players might just from a role-playing perspective say, no, we're not going to use this artifact. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I have not seen it to be too big of a problem, but you got to use your brain, you got to use your noggin, and you got to be selective about which artifacts you give your players and when. If you start giving artifacts at level 10, yes, expect there to be problems. Like that's the same thing of giving out magic items like candy at any level. You're going to have problems and you're going to have to adjust things. It's just the way it would be. But if you do it wisely and at the proper moments in the game, then you're going to find that it's not quite as bad as you might otherwise think. And obviously there are edge cases and exceptions, and there are stories you can go out on Reddit and crap and see how things broke the game, you know, but I don't think it's probably quite as bad as you might think. Oh, Sympaticos, what's up? Trevor, Sympaticos is in my Sword Coast Guard game, in my Curse of Strahd game right now. And he says, I think Aaron wanted to use it and we wouldn't let him. Oh, I'm sure Aaron wanted to. Yeah. And remember at the very end of the campaign, after you defeated Lord Paxton, and I was having you guys all describe like what you did, you know, riding off into the sunset sort of thing. I'm pretty sure Aaron, the very first thing he did is he had Sebastian gouge out his eye and put in the Eye of Vecna. I'm pretty sure that was like one of the first things he did. BK Dan, what's up? Supper time. Guess what I'm having? BK. Burger King? Oh, I haven't had Burger King in so long. It's been like probably like 10 years, 15 years. It's been a long time. Both of the Burger King places near where I live are garbage. They're so horrible. Like we went into one and we were just standing there and there's nobody working there, and you could see people in the kitchen. They wouldn't come take your order or anything. And I'm like, this is stupid. Let's go. And I think there was another we went to and the food was just absolutely atrocious. So yeah, we don't go there. Yeah. Do you use magic item shops in your games? How do you stock and price them? No. Absolutely do not have magic item shops in my games. No. For 5th edition especially, No, you're gonna have to rebalance everything if there are magic item shops, because there's so much gold in the game. And your part of your question is, how do you price them? You need to price them crazy expensive is how you need to price them. Because if you run the loot tables from the Dungeon Master Guide, by the time your players are 8th level, 10th level, they're swimming in gold. Crazy amounts of gold. Unless as a Dungeon Master, you've been exacting little taxes on them here and there. Like, I usually, for many of my groups, I'll find ways to make them pony up money for certain things that happen. Recently, my Ancient Dragon group was in Athkatla in which is in the Forgotten Realms, and they needed to basically do some bad stuff against a prominent guild, almost like a criminal organization or a merchant guild, essentially. Little criminal stuff going on, but merchant guild in Athkatla. And if you know Athkatla and it's essentially ruled by powerful merchants, so and wealthy noble families, which are basically kind of merchants and stuff. But anyway, if they wanted to do something against this powerful merchant guild, they needed to get official sponsorship from one of the, I think it's 5 ruling nobles groups or merchant guilds or whatever in Athkatla. And they approached one of them and they're like, look, we need you to look the other way while we do something bad to these guys. And then that merchant group, the ruling group, was like, okay, yeah, that's going to cost like 10,000 gold or something. And so the players had to give them a sum of money so that they would look the other way so they could go and do their mission. So thinking of that's what I mean by exacting attacks, throughout the game. Because 5th edition, the economy in 5th edition is dumb. It wasn't thought through. It wasn't thought through at all. It was basically like published, and then people started to be like, whoa, we got all this gold. What do we do with all this gold? Is there anything in the books, the core books, about what to spend all this gold on? No, there's not. You just have tons of gold and nothing to spend it on in 5th edition. And so if you introduce magic items, and they're not expensive enough, your players are just gonna go crazy and buy a bunch of stuff. And you're gonna have to worry about them saying, oh, you know what? There's a magic item shop. What if we just broke into it and stole stuff? Yeah, let's do that. And then you're going to be running a heist adventure, which isn't bad, right? But you're going to have to then think about all the defenses that it would have. Because look at magic item shop. Your player's adventuring group is not the first one that decided to try to break in there and steal everything. Though that magic item shop has been dealing with thieves, powerful thieves, for a long, long time. Otherwise, they would not still be in business. And so they have certain defenses in place, and you got to think of what those are. And they got to be nasty because they're going to keep out everybody, not just your players group. So anyway, that's something you'd have to consider, I'm not saying it's a problem, but it's something that you would need to be cognizant of before you introduce magic shops, because it's only a matter of time before your players get that idea in their heads, Pricing things out. I don't know. I've never really done that. You need to make things expensive. My thought would be probably to make things super expensive and then see if your players were never able to buy anything, or it wasn't enough, then maybe make things a little cheaper. But I would start out high and then bring things lower as needed. You're going to have to go about it iteratively to kind of figure out the right prices, because a system doesn't necessarily exist for that. There might be a system for it. If you go out on DM's Guild or Drive-Thru RPG, it's possible you can find a system like that will help you with that. I don't know. I've not seen one. I'm sure somebody has probably made one that you could find. So those are some thoughts about magic item shops in D&D. Mr. Gore says, are you finally abandoning Twitch? Your last few streams have been on YouTube. Yeah, I'm pretty much abandoning Twitch. If I run any D&D games, they will be streamed to Twitch. But all of my normal live streams, like this one where I'm doing Q&A, we're going to be here on YouTube going forward. Yes, Twitch is being abandoned. I do not agree with some of the practices of Twitch currently. There are there were 3 different types of streams that they turn a blind eye to that are not good for our society. I forget what one of them was. The 2 that stick out are the overly sexualized streams, like women in hot tubs and other stuff, just overly sexualized content, and gambling streams that are just encouraging. Oh, and cryptocurrency streams, people scamming and doing crypto crap. So that was the 3rd one I was forgetting about. So gambling, encouraging people to gamble essentially and create addictions there. And then crypto's like, some of it is kind of legit maybe, but it reminds me a lot of like certain bubbles. But anyway, I don't invest in crypto. It reminds me of like some stuff, rose bulbs. There's whatever. I have this book. Stand by. Okay, right here. Amazing book, A Random Walk Down Wall Street by Burton G. Malkiel. All right. So if you're thinking about investing in stuff, I'd read this book. It's like the gold standard of starting place to read, and a lot of things, and it talks in this book. I think it mentions crypto and it goes into crypto in the book as well, but there are lots of things about it that just seem like, anyway, that's, you know what? Let's not talk finances right now. The point is these, we were talking about Twitch. Well, I don't stream on Twitch. These 3 streams, the over-sexualized streams, the gambling streams, and the crypto streams are all streams that are making tons of money for the people doing them, obviously, and for Twitch. And they're not good for our society at all. They're not good for people. They're not helping people at all. They're decidedly bad from my personal viewpoint, obviously. And yet Twitch allows them and does nothing about them. And because they make a lot of money, and Twitch just wants a lot of money. And so it's more of kind of like a moral decision where I don't want to be on a platform that does those things. That's the biggest reason. The second reason is that on YouTube is more accessible to my audience in so much that I'm streaming right now at full HD. It is full HD. However, if you're on a phone with a bad internet connection, it's going to automatically adjust the bandwidth for you to whatever your phone and your internet connection can take. So it's going to dumb it down to like, I don't know, 144 or something for you. On Twitch, if I stream at full HD, you get full HD. And if your internet connection can't handle it, you don't get anything. You can't watch my stream. And so YouTube is more accessible for a lot of viewers. And so those are 2 of the big reasons that we're moving from Twitch to YouTube. So there you go. That is the current direction. We can't trash talk the merch anymore. We can always trash talk the merch, especially if I see Danny in the stream. Absolutely. The coffee's right here. I got the coffee. What did I have it back here? Did I not have it under the camera? Yeah. Sorry. If you get Danny on the stream, I will trash talk the merch. That's the that's the deal. That's the deal. By the way, folks, we are trying to raise money for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. It's a genetic disorder that affects lungs, pancreas, and other organs and stuff like that. We're trying to raise $500 for them. All of your tips will go toward them once we get $500, which is our tip goal, which you can see on that bar on one side of the stream over here. Once we get $500, I will be giving a big old donation to them. In the past, we have donated $500 to the Capital Area Humane Society and to the Boys and Girls Club of Lansing. So I want to give these guys a bunch of money. Moderators should be putting a link in the chat there where you can tip to donate to them. And any support, greatly appreciated. Oh yeah, Goliath Cleric just put a link in chat for our Discord. Definitely go join that. You guys, if you have Dungeon Master questions, our Discord is the place to be. 100%. There are tons of, there's like, how many members do we have? We have like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I don't know. There are lots of people in there. And here's the thing. 1, it is a welcoming community. People are actually nice to you. And 2, there are lots of game masters in there with lots of experience that can help answer your questions. So if I don't get to your question tonight, then go over there and people will help you. It's an amazing community that we're building over there. All right, let's get this stuff going here.
Should I have a battle map for every combat or just the major combats?
That the way you pose that question sounds like you're playing online. If you're playing online, then it really just depends on how you want to do it, the quality of game you want to run in some ways. You can't anticipate every combat, especially if you have random encounters and things like that. So sometimes if you're playing online, you might just have a blank grid and you put the player's tokens there, and then you take the little drawing tool and you just draw some stuff really quick. And that's your combat map. That's where you have your combat. You might decide to do some simple combats, theater of the mind. But I would definitely say if you have an entire dungeon planned, if they're literally going to be going into some location-based adventure, you should ideally have them. If you're running grid and minis on like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, if that's your goal, if you want to have that sort of experience, because you could just do theater of the mind if you wanted to, but if you're trying to do the grid and minis experience on a virtual tabletop, then certainly a location-based adventure, a dungeon, a castle, whatever it is, should have a map, in my opinion. And if you know there are major encounters or battles that are going to happen, then it would be good to have a map in advance. You don't have to. It really just depends on how much time you have and you're willing to put into preparing the game for your players. The more of that sort of thing you do, the better the game experience is probably going to be for them on a virtual tabletop, but you only have so much time. So you have to choose which things you're going to do and which things you aren't going to do. And so that's just kind of a decision that you have to make. I personally, well, first of all, the games I run on Roll20 are for my patrons, which means they're paying for it. And so I try to make those very nice. I try to have battle maps for like almost everything. And even random encounters, I have a map set up. I have tons of maps that I've purchased that are in like a library list. And I have a map set up where I can literally just drag one of these maps that I've purchased onto it. I can enlarge it a little bit, throw it onto the map layer, and I have a combat map. I have a random encounter map I can go. If I need a swamp, I need a mountain, I need something, I can go out and just do it. And I can get it set up pretty quickly and then throw their tokens on it and we can have our combat. For random encounters, that's what I have to do. It takes a little bit of setup time during the game, but it's a random encounter. What are you gonna do? Anything that I have planned out in advance that we know we're going to do, that stuff's ready to go. So I hope that helps a little bit. It's really just up to your own discretion and what experience you want to provide for your players. If you're talking about in-person games, then literally maps are just drawn on. You take your dry erase marker out and you go to your grid paper and you start drawing it. I mean, you can improvise maps on the fly easily when you're in person. That's one of the things I love about in person. If we have a random encounter in the swamp, okay, cool. Let me draw some little islands of dry ground. Let me draw some logs that have fallen down, some tree trunks, some scrabbly bushes over here, and put the monsters down, and there we go. Let's have our battle. It's so much easier in person to improvise those sorts of things. When you're dealing with technology and tools online, you know, it's a little more challenging. Oh, Danny's here. Ooh. Hello, Danny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the time in our show where we trash talk the merch. At the link that's about to go into chat, you can get some horrible DM Lair shirts. You can get garbage hoodies that fall apart, that come apart in the wash, the labels and stuff all fray and fall. It's just the most horrible merch you're ever gonna have. You do not want to buy any of this merch. It's just horrible. So don't buy the merch. It's bad. There we go. Danny, before you came, people asked me about Twitch and if we're ever gonna have Trash Talk the merch again. And I told them if you get Danny to come to the stream, that I will trash talk the merch. And I am true to my word. So I think we just made Danny leave the stream too. She just sent me her resignation. She's like, I'm done, Luke. No longer doing this for you. All right, let's find some more questions.
How do you encourage gold sinks? I've suggested my players build strongholds or buy land, but none of them have really pursued it. Yeah, you can only extend offers to them. I have done the same thing for my Ancient Dragon group. I've told all of them that you can build strongholds if you want. And I even have some stronghold rules that I've made available to them. If you want to build strongholds, go for it. None of them are very interested in that, and that's okay. That part of the game doesn't appeal to them. They don't care about that. They want to go on adventures. They want to kick butt and complete quests and do all these other things, and that's fine. I had one player once that did want to do strongholds. Then he left, and now nobody cares about it. So that's fine. You have to just offer little things to them. You know, little things here, little things there. But here's the other thing too. If your players aren't biting on any of these gold sinks, give them less gold. That you control the flow of gold. You control it. So if they don't bite, just cut off the flow a little bit. You're rolling on the tables, cut the gold in half. Give them half as much so they're not swimming in it. Make it a little bit more scarce. They're not going to know the difference. If they can buy healing potions and they can buy a horse because their last horse got eaten by a troll, then that's the basics. In 5th edition, you don't really need gold. It doesn't have any inherent value. It doesn't really help you with a whole lot besides buying healing potions maybe. But you can't really use it for much unless you're making a whole bunch of things available to them to use it on. And so in the base game, if you cut off the flow of gold a little bit, there's not a whole lot of impact. Once they have their full plate armor and they have enough to buy healing potions and components for their spells that have like the higher level spell components and stuff, you know, as long as they can handle those bases, gold doesn't have a whole lot of meaning. So you can always cut the flow off and it doesn't impact things a whole lot. Oh my gosh, I'm a moron. I'm sorry. I'm missing all of the super chats and tips and stuff. Sorry. Thank you, moderators, for being better than I am. A Ramirez, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. I appreciate that, dude. Says God bless you for being so principled to make that decision. Absolutely, dude. I was watching a video. There's this guy called Devin Nash that I like a lot. He talks a lot about industry stuff. He talks about streaming. He talks about business, financial stuff. And I was watching some of his videos and he was talking about these things, about how Twitch is saturated with these streams. And I wasn't really aware of it because I don't watch Twitch. I stream there, but I don't hang out on Twitch watching stuff. And when I started to learn about the things that Twitch was involved in and all these different things, I was disgusted and I was like, I don't think I can stream here anymore. I can't support this platform, you know? So yeah, you're very welcome, dude. Silent Knight UK, thank you so much. $25 tip, woo, for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. The funny thing is that like I'm trying to raise money for a foundation whose name I can barely pronounce. I'm just gonna call them CF. Like that's their website actually just says CF at one point. It's like, learn more about CF. I'm like, okay, cool. I can say that. I can say letters of the alphabet usually. So thank you for your tip, man. I really appreciate that. Jack Robo, thank you, sir, for the 684 tip as well. Really appreciate that. I have a player that is the pilot, but insists on calling herself the captain and sees herself as in charge of the other players, even though I have said she's only a pilot. Can you help at all? Love your content, how positive you are. Yeah, thank you, dude. Like, dude, I mean, I'm a straight shooter. If I had a player who I perceived as bossing other players around and trying to push them and make them play the game how she thought their characters should play the game, I would just call them out on it. I would definitely do it in private. I would take her aside and be like, look it, I'm gonna just tell you what's up. You're kind of just telling the other players what to do in the game. And I don't know if you can sense this, but they don't like it. And there's some friction and there's some bitterness developing, and I can feel the tension in the atmosphere as you're doing this. You know, and I don't know if you're doing it intentionally or unintentionally. I don't know what your motives are and stuff. This is an observation. This is something that you're doing.
and I'm seeing the other players react this way, and I'm concerned that it's going to cause out of character issues in our game. And then see what she says and all this kind of stuff. You know, she might be doing it subconsciously or something, or she might have some frustrations or something, you know, and then talk it through with her. You know, you want to get her side of the story and stuff, but there needs to be the ask of, you know, hey, yeah, blah, 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 blah. I need you to stop doing that, please, because it's causing problems, and I can see problems on the horizon if this behavior keeps up. So could you please stop trying to boss their characters into doing stuff? You know, so there's a conversation in there, and there's you trying to understand where she's coming from and all that kind of good stuff, you know. But at the end, there needs to be the ask, the request that she stop that behavior, because people aren't gonna like that if somebody's basically bossing them around, tell them how to roleplay their character. And it doesn't have to be the dungeon master, you know, railroading them. It could be another player who's basically like, you need to go do this. You know, like I remember this one time we had a player. I'll always give this example. She was playing a monk who had no ranged weapons, and it constantly came up in the game all the time. We're in combat, and she's like, I can't do anything. I have no ranged weapons. All the time, all the time, all the time. And I was so like irritated as a player, because I was a player in this game. I was so irritated because the monk wasn't carrying her weight. And it wasn't the first time. It was time after time after time she had no ranged weapons. And I'd be like, is there a reason you don't just buy some ranged weapons? And she was like, oh, I just don't want any, whatever. She didn't have a character reason. She didn't have some sort of role play thing where it's like, oh, I only fight hand to hand. It's dishonorable to shoot people from afar. She didn't have any reasons, no justifications. She just didn't want to buy ranged weapons. And it irritated the crap out of me. But I didn't like go the step of like pushing her into buying it and browbeating her, because, you know, it's her character. She's welcome to do what she wants, but I'm going to sit over here and seethe in anger because she's a moron. Like, she's an absolute moron. Go buy some darts, buy some throwing knives. I don't care. You know, get some beer kegs you can throw. Whatever you want to do as a monk, it's fine. But if you could pull your weight in this battle, we would appreciate it. It's bad enough that you're squishy as crap. It's bad enough that your damage output sucks. Like, get some ranged weapons, please. But I didn't tell her how to play her character. It was polite requests, even though Luke wanted to just shove some ranged weapons on her character sheet. Yeah. Of course, now I've learned that monks at higher levels, when they have Stunning Fist, are very, very powerful. But monks are like one-trick ponies in a way. Actually, as they get, I've been told that as a monk gets higher and higher levels, they get way more powerful. But Stunning Fist is amazingly crazy. Finn Armstrong, what's up, dude? How you doing? Yes, I remember you, dude. Yeah, you were a regular from the streams. I totally remember you, dude. Welcome, dude. What's up, man? All right, let's try some more questions here. Starting a campaign with 8 players, how would you go about making everyone feel included in every session? What does that mean, to feel included in every session? That they're playing the game, that they're participating, that they have a moment to do something, that they're not sitting there quiet the whole time with all the other players talking over them, I think is how you would make sure they feel included. So what you're gonna find in a group that big is you got a whole bunch of people, and you're gonna have some talkers. You're gonna have some people that just run their mouths off, and they're just a going, and they can play the game the whole night with the 4 of them talking back and forth. And then you're gonna have the other 4 people. 2 of them every so often can get a word in, and they're able to play the game. However, the other 2 are quiet the whole time. They don't have that personality that will bust in there, and they're trying to wait for an opportunity to play the game, but it doesn't present itself, so they sit there quiet the whole time. And then those are the 2 that don't get to participate at all, that kind of can't play the game because these people won't shut up. And I'm being kind of, whatever, direct about it, but they're talking the whole time, and it's not necessarily to blame or their fault or anything. It's their personalities. It's how they are as players. So we're not blaming them. We're just stating it how it is. They talk a lot, and it makes it difficult for other people to talk and participate in the game. So you got two people who are like having to really get in there and force their way into the conversation, and you got two other people that can't talk at all. So I think this is the situation that can happen with a large group. And this is how you can get players that feel like they're not being included in the group. The solution to this is that you, as the game master, need to create that space for those two players to be able to play that game, which means you are responsible. You need to quiet down the other four. You got to give them, hey guys, whoa. Cynthia, what would you like to do? Do you want to say anything to this NPC? Yes, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you need to quiet them down. You need to give space to the other players so they can say something. Call them out by names. If it's a social interaction, you can have the NPC directly address the quiet player's character. Yeah, I've heard enough from you guys. I want to know what she thinks. Directly do stuff like that. They're in a room, they're exploring. These guys are poking at that. Cynthia, you notice that the door over there is slightly cracked open. Would you like to do anything? Yes, I want to go. Okay, so you need to create, that's what I mean by creating space for them, so that is the thing I would recommend. Help them feel included in the session, that they have an opportunity to participate. That's my advice. We're out. Danny, we're out of coffee. Look, it's gone. She's like, what do you want me to do, Luke? I'm like, nothing. I'm just letting you know. Oh my gosh, look at all my cats. They're gathering. You can't even see them all. I have 1, 2, 3 that you can see. Squeaky is right here. Oh, you can see his nose. Squeaky. Squeaky. And then Squirty Pie is over here. You can't even see her. She's like way over here. Yeah, you can't see him. I heard another cat. I heard a cat jiggle. Oh, Mommy's over here. Mommy's on the other side of me over here. So we have a solid 6. Yeah, we have 6. 4 plus 2. That's 6. Yeah, absolutely. We got a bunch of them. So we'll do a little kitty stream in a little bit. Silent Night UK, thank you for the $25 tip. I appreciate that. Donating to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Really appreciate that. We have broken $100 now toward our goal of $500 to support the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So we're getting closer and closer. Thank you so much. They say, I'm starting my first campaign on Sunday as DM to give our forever DM a few month break. Bless your heart. Thank you. Thank you. Your dungeon master, I'm sure, appreciates that for 2 reasons. 1, they might want to be a player. 2, even if they like being a dungeon master, having a break is a nice thing. It helps them to get their energy back and their desire back to run the campaign again. So it actually improves your game to give your dungeon masters breaks like that. I love that crap. I have got backstories from them, but despite asking them for ideas why they would want to join together as a party, I have got nothing from them. Help, any ideas how to start? So it sounds like you're pinging them offline, like over chat or something, or maybe over email, and you're not getting any ideas. So what I would do is, if I'm trying to get information like that from them that they're not giving me, is I would do it together at a game session. It could be your session 0, it could be whatever, it could be a special game session, it doesn't matter. I would literally ask them at the table, hey guys, we've been trying to determine why you guys are adventuring together as a group. Let's talk about that. Let's figure it out. Boom, captive audience, you gotta figure it out. I know that my Sword Coast Guard players, they are not very communicative over email, which is probably because they're all working adults and most of them have families and stuff like that. So if I really want us to figure something out, guess what? We do it at the game session, because captive audience, I'm the dungeon master. You kind of, if I want to talk about this, guess what we're doing? So I would recommend you try that. Absolutely. Kirby, thank you for the $50 super chat. I really appreciate that. You are awesome, dude. If you're just donating that for kicks, I really appreciate that. If you had a question that you forgot to type in there, you can do a follow-up and my moderators will get you. Sometimes people like super chat and they mean to send a question or something, but they forget. So if that's the case, just let my mods know. They'll hook you up in the spreadsheet. I need more coffee. I need to get more coffee. So we're going to do a cat strike. And then we're going to come back and I'll answer more questions. So this is the cat strike right here. Right here's the cat strike. They're swarming. All right, we're about to do a cat strike. Stand by. Oh, but first, a message from our sponsor.
This content is brought to you by Lair magazine. Are you a busy dungeon master without enough time to create content for your D&D game? Would you like professional, pre-made 5th edition adventures and other resources you can drag and drop into your existing campaign? If so, Lair magazine has exactly what you need. Every issue of Lair magazine comes with 2 5th edition adventures, maps designed for use on virtual tabletops, and other dungeon master resources. New monsters, puzzles, traps, magic items, NPCs, pre-made encounters, and more. Become a DM Lair patron today to get a new issue of Lair magazine every month, along with loads of bonus content, such as additional 5th edition adventures and map packs with even more digital maps. DM Lair patrons also get extra perks, such as playing in D&D games with me, voting on the videos I make, access to my VIP Discord channel, a monthly video hangout over Zoom, and more. Click that link below to learn more and become a DM Lair patron today.
All right, here we go. Today's live stream is sponsored by Lair magazine. It's actually really good, people. It's an amazing publication. All right, here we go. You guys, I have 6 of my 7 cats tonight. Yes. All right, I'll be right back and get some coffee. Watch the kitties. They're adorable. Oh yeah, coffee. The cats get to eat, Luke his drink, and we get a cat strike. Your cats are trying to walk on your keyboard, dude. My mommy cat, this cat right here, she constantly wants to jump on my lap, and then she wants to walk on my desk. And today she's like on my desk, just like looking at my screen, because I think I was moving the mouse around. I was working and stuff, and she's like looking at my screen. And sometimes she wants to go on my keyboard. And I'm like, no, you can't go on my keyboard, dude. I need to work. Or Orange is always the one who goes in the box. Like, he's always going in the box. All right, let's hit this back up again. I have so many questions in this spreadsheet. Oh my goodness. Quick reminder, if you must burning needs have your question answered, I do give priority to all of my YouTube channel members and to super chats. So if you need to have a question answered, that is a way that you can get that in front of me a little bit easier. I'm doing my best though. I swear to you, I am. I talk a lot. I have a lot of air in my lungs, and I keep breathing, and that puts more air in my lungs. So it's just like this. It's this death spiral of talking. You know how that works. How will subs work if you're not streaming on Twitch? I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. Probably I'll lose all my subs on Twitch. It's only like $200 a month. Yeah. Dude, you don't make money on Twitch unless you have like thousands of viewers. Yeah, there are lots of being an affiliate on Twitch is just like a scam. It's a Twitch scam. It's essentially Twitch wants to get their affiliates locked into being an affiliate so they can get them so they can't like stream on other platforms, is what Twitch tries to do. They have this like, you know, this exclusivity agreement that you have to agree to where you don't stream on other platforms. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. YouTube does not care whether you stream on other platforms. Facebook doesn't care. Nobody else cares, but Twitch wants to have these exclusivity contracts. And so being an affiliate is just like, it's garbage. You make no money. Like, it's pathetic. And they want you to be exclusive only to them. It's horse crap. So yeah, anyway, that's a tangent. That's a tangent. But my real point here is that, yeah, I'll probably just lose my subs on Twitch. I don't know. Sorry. If you are a sub on Twitch, you can transfer over to a YouTube channel member, and then get benefits and perks. A lot of the same ones probably too. So yeah, it's good. Do you employ alignment to your campaigns in any meaningful way? Nope, not really. I personally, as the game master, use alignment to roleplay my enemies. In my opinion, the principal purpose of alignment is to inform role-playing. So if there's a character, a player has a character who's lawful neutral, that should inform his role-playing. If I am running a goblin who is chaotic evil, I believe goblins are, that informs my role-playing. How do I role-play those goblins? If I have hobgoblins are lawful evil. That informs my role-playing. My hobgoblins are going to behave way differently than goblins because of their alignment. So alignment, in my opinion, is primarily a tool for role-playing, and that's really the only purpose of it. Is the wish spell broken? Should I remove it from my campaign? No. Let me tell you the trick to the wish spell. Let me tell you the trick to the wish spell. We're gonna go to D&D Beyond really quick so we can look at the wish spell. And it is not broken at all in 5th edition. I've had it in my games. We've had no issues with it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Let me go over to show you on the monitor here. So we have the wish spell. So the wish spell is the mightiest spell, blah, 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 blah. The basic use of this spell is to duplicate any other 8th level spell or lower. And you don't need to meet the spell component ingredient costs, which can be very costly at that level. Alternately, you can create one of the following effects of your choice. All right, so create one object of that much value, you know, greater restoration spell, they get resistance. It gives you some examples of different things, okay, which are cool, but aren't that big of a deal. They're not, it's not game breaking at all. Now here's the thing. You might be able to achieve something else, but the dungeon master, you know, has some leeway into doing it. Now here's the key part. Here's the very important part. This is the part that I think people miss over right here. This one sentence and then the paragraph that follows. The stress of casting this spell to produce any effect other than duplicating another spell of 8th level or lower weakens you. After enduring that stress, each time you cast a spell, you take that much necrotic damage per level of that spell. It can't be reduced in any way. That's a big thing. In addition, your strength drops. Okay, that's a pretty big deal. All right. For each of these days, okay, finally, every time you cast the wish spell, and it's not to duplicate an 8th level spell or lower, every time you cast it, there is a 33% chance that you are unable to cast wish ever again. Ever again. That is huge. That is huge. Can you imagine a wizard? 33% chance is very high. They might cast wish once and wish for the big bad guy to disappear forever so they don't have to fight him. And then the dungeon master could just be like, okay, you're all teleported 200 years in the future when the big bad is gone. Oh crap. But then they have to roll and they might have the ability to cast wish expunged from them forever. This little part here gives your players pause. They are only going to use that wish spell for something other than duplicating a spell of 8th level or lower if they absolutely must needs do it. And I feel like this right here fixes the wish spell. And so yes, it's powerful, but as long as you use it as written and don't forget to read the whole spell, I think that it's fixed in 5th edition. Previous editions, I think it was probably game breaking, although I don't remember specifics of it. So I might be, yeah. There's nobody there anymore. All right, Garuda Daza. Thank you, sir. Question. How do you roleplay NPCs when the PCs seem to be asking to be infodumped on? I don't infodump them. They ask very basic questions, or they ask questions that are too on the nose. How I roleplay an NPC has nothing to do. Well, how I roleplay an NPC is how I've decided to roleplay that NPC. So if the players start asking certain questions, then I'm going to roleplay the NPC. How would my NPC respond to those questions? Right? Like, do they have the information? Do they have the information? Because if they don't even know the information, then I can't tell the players the information. If I do have the information, how willing am I to tell them? Do I know them? Do I trust them? Have they paid me? I might not want to tell them. I might lie to them. I might tell them I don't have the information. But how I roleplay that NPC when the players are asking me questions about whatever it happens to be is going to depend on the individual circumstances and situations. Because literally, I'm roleplaying the NPC, which means they're asking things. I'm determining based on the NPC's profession, his personality, his inclinations, how he's going to react, how he's going to respond. And so I don't know that there's a blanket answer for that question. I think it just depends on the individual circumstances. And then you just do your best to roleplay that NPC. So I don't know if that helps you. How is George? George is doing great. George is growing, getting bigger. He runs all over the place. You know what? We had to. This week, I think it was on Tuesday. By the way, George is our squirrel. My wife found a little baby squirrel out in the driveway, half dead. We brought him in, and we've now helped. He's now like 12 weeks old, 13 weeks old, and he's doing really well. So, but this last week, we have him out in our 3 Seasons room because yeah, he has a nice big cage. He's got this apartment cage. He's like spoiled. And then we let him out into the 3 Seasons room to run around, so he has a bunch of space, and there are no cats out there. Important point. But we have furniture out there. Tuesday, I go look out the window, the patio door window to our 3 Seasons room to check on him, and I see little pieces of the wicker meshing from our patio furniture lying about the floor. He had started chewing on our furniture, our patio furniture out there. And it was only like a couple hours. I let him out and I checked in a couple hours later, and he had lots of this chewed up and lying around. And I was like, okay, time out. Time out! And I had to go out there, put him in his cage, and take out all of the furniture out of there. And it's patio furniture, so we just took the cushions off and put him out on our decks and stuff, you know. And then the 3 Seasons room is empty now, basically. It's totally empty. We had to get all the furniture out of there, and he made a mess of that furniture. I'm gonna have to order some new pieces and put it back together, basically. Now he has an empty 3 Seasons room, except for I put some cardboard. But I went out. We have like this little woods behind our house. I went out and got big, huge branches and just dragged these branches into our 3 Seasons room on the floor, so that he would have something to climb on and chew on and stuff like that. And then I bought some PVC pipes to make like a jungle gym for him, so he can climb over it and stuff. And I gotta go put that together at some point, maybe tomorrow. I'll put that together. So yeah, he's doing very well though. But let me tell you, my wife and I were like on the fence where we like him and we love him, and he's adorable and he climbs over us and stuff, and he's really cool. But he is not happy, you know, being in his little cage. You have to let him out into this big 3 Seasons room so he can run around, you know. And he's still small. He's still small. When he gets a more full-grown adult, it's not gonna work. We're gonna have to let him loose outside. Otherwise, he's just not gonna be happy, you know. And so my wife and I we weren't sure if we'd be able to keep him or we'd have to let him go. And it's becoming more and more obvious that he cannot be kept as a pet. Like, he's not gonna be happy confined, and he's gonna chew anything. So you got to be like, he'd have to have his own room empty of furniture, you know. So anyway, he's doing well, but the plan is that in the spring, once he's bigger, and we live in Michigan, so it's really cold out. So we're going to have to introduce him and let him go in the spring. So that's the goal. That's how that's going to be. So right now, though, we enjoy him. He's adorable. Right now, like, it's a common practice in my house that you'll go up into our kitchen and look at the patio that goes into 3 Seasons room, and there's like 2 or 3 cats in the front of the patio door, just watching the squirrel. And then occasionally the squirrel, George, will come closer to the door, and the cat will be like, bop, 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 bop. He's like hitting the glass, you know, trying to get the squirrel and stuff. So yeah, it's not gonna work. Yeah, it's sad, but it's for the best. I mean, yeah, he's not gonna be happy, so you gotta let him go. How would you go about making random encounters while traveling through the world? You have random encounter tables that are already created. We literally, for Lair magazine, we are literally publishing random encounter tables that have not just the encounters, like not just like lists of monsters. I'll tell you what, that's one of the things that I find so absolutely ridiculous and stupid about Xanathars. They have these random encounter tables in there, but it literally just lists the monsters. Like, that doesn't do me any good. Like, if it says swamp and then it has a bunch of like, you know, lizard folk, it doesn't help me. It doesn't help me. Like, you need to give me some context. You need to give me some story. Like, what are these lizard folk doing? Like, why is this an encounter? Like, help me, please. Because I need you. You're publishing. Anyway, I'm like ranting a little bit. We're publishing random encounter tables right now in Lair magazine, and they have context and story around them so that you can roll on the table and you can get an explanation of what's going on in this scene
when you present it to your players, to actually make it something you can grab and actually run in your game without sitting there and being like, why are there werewolves here? Like, what are the werewolves doing here? You know, because not everybody's can easily think of that stuff on the fly, you know, while they're under pressure. Some people need that context and story. So anyway, we're publishing random encounter tables in Lair magazine. We had, I think the October issue had a bunch of them. The November issue has a bunch of them. And then the December issue is having the rest of them. We have a random encounter table for each of the tiers. Tier 1, levels 1 to 5. Tier 2, levels 6 to 10. Tier 3, levels 11 to 16. And then Tier 4, levels 17 to 20. And so very, very, very good tables. I'm actually using the tables in my own games. Goliath clerics in my Ancient Dragon campaign, and I was rolling on the tables. These guys were rolling so badly. They were trying to travel somewhere that was a long ways away, and a random encounter happens on a roll of a 1 or a 2 on a d12, and these guys were rolling 1s and 2s all night. And I'm just like, you guys, come on, man. And I was using it for my Curse of Strahd game too, and they're really good tables. I love them. Danny is here in the chat. She wrote probably 3/4 of the tables, and then Goliath Cleric, he's another. So in the chat, by the way, Goliath Cleric and Danny are 2 lead writers for Lair magazine, and they both. Danny did most of it, and then Goliath Cleric did a bunch of them too. But they wrote these things for Lair magazine, and they're really, really good, you guys. So, what was the question? How do you go about making random encounters while traveling through the world? That's how I do it right there. I use those tables from Lair magazine now is what I do. My players have a hard time choosing what to do. They're teenagers, so I have to railroad them, but I don't know what to do. Any advice? At some point, you need to play the game. Like, what are you gonna do? If you do nothing and your players sit there for 3 hours, unable to make up and decide what they're going to do, you have a problem, because you're not playing D&D. People are literally sitting around the table talking and discussing what they might do, but they're not actually doing anything. That is not a satisfying game experience. A 5-minute discussion? Okay. 10 minutes? Okay. 15 minutes? Okay. This must be a really complex problem to require 15 minutes of discussion. But once you start getting into 20 minutes, 30 minutes, no. It is time for the Dungeon Master to do something. You need to step in. You need to do something. It could be as simple. Now, there's obviously, you can have like a random encounter or some bullcrap, you know, to just force some action on the game, and then hope that when it's over, they'll decide. But they might not. They might go right back to where they were before, and then you're just like, ah! So you might need to do something like, hey guys, okay, look it. 3 of you want to do X. 2 of you want to do Y. You know what? You're gonna go do this thing right here. The most of you want to do this, you're gonna do this. Or you could tell them, hey, look, you guys are gonna vote, and whichever thing gets the most votes, that's the thing you do. Or you're gonna roll dice or something. I have an older video on my channel about things you can do when players can't decide, and I had a few suggestions, because this happens, and I have noticed that it happens a lot with younger players, because I've run games for like teenagers and young players as well. It happens with them. It also happens with new players where they can't make up their minds what to do. Veteran players, I have not experienced that problem. They tend to do a lot better with that sort of thing. So yeah, young players, new players, you're gonna have to do something. You can't just let them sit there forever. So you mentioned you have to railroad them a little bit. You might, because you gotta play the game. Dude, what would you rather have? Let's be honest. 3 hours of doing nothing but talking and discussing, or somebody pushing the action and, you know, making them in a way go do something? I would much rather be forced to go have fun than be allowed to sit there and be bored. That's my personal opinion. So, yeah.
Random encounters aren't the solution to that all the time, though. That's like the reason that random encounters, just because they can't decide, having things attack them is not always the solution. This is not root cause problem solving, is what it is. So it's like if you have ants that are invading your home all the time, right? And you're like, okay, let's get the exterminator. They exterminate the ants, and the ants come back. Oh crap! All right, get the exterminator. You kill the ants. At some point, you gotta consider that you might need to stop throwing cookie crumbs all over your floor. You might want to vacuum and mop and, you know, do certain things. At some point, you need to find the root cause of why the ants keep coming back to your stinking house. You know, the same way, it's like if your players have a hard time making decisions all of the time, at some point that needs to be addressed. And you got to figure out a method and a process whereby you can help them make decisions, whether they have a group leader, whether they take a vote, whether they roll dice, whatever. You need to figure out something that will help the group going forward. You can't just have stuff attack them every single time they can't make up their minds. That is a non-solution. It might help you out once, maybe, or twice, maybe, but you're probably still gonna fall back into that same pattern where they can't make up their minds. So it's not root cause problem solving, and it doesn't actually help address the real problem, you know, which needs to be addressed. And you need to figure out a solution for that. So just saying have orcs attack or having a random encounter, that is not a solution, right? That's a band-aid. And once that band-aid falls off, you still have a wound that's eating away your flesh, and you need to fix that. Danny says put bug poison in the cookie crumbs. I mean, okay, maybe. I'm homebrewing a campaign for the first time ever. How do you plan the crucial encounters? How do you plan them first and then the rest of the second? Do you plan them first and then the rest of secondary quests, or vice versa? Greetings from Argentina. I don't plan individual encounters when I'm creating a campaign at the campaign level. I have some older videos called Campaign Creation Part 1 and Campaign Creation Part 2. Highly recommend you go watch those videos. Those will give you an overview of the process I use to create campaigns. And I don't create encounters. I create bad guys. I create the big bad of the campaign, and then I create lieutenants. And then, you know, the encounters get created when I create the actual adventure that the players are going to go on. And I only create the adventure, the specific details of the adventure, right before my players tell me they're going to go there. Because if I create a whole bunch of adventures for the whole campaign, there's no guarantee they're ever going to go do those things. Things might change. They might lose interest in that or something like that. And so I don't do that granular encounter level building until my players are actually going to go there. But I definitely have an idea of who the big bad is and lieutenants that they might run in along on the way. I know what the big bad is trying to do in the game world, what their motivations are, what their goals are, and those sorts of things. That high level planning, that is campaign planning for me. And then as my players play the game, I'll plan out individual adventures and I'll plan out those encounters. And then at that point, I'm just creating adventures at that point, which goes into adventure creation. And I have a few different videos on my channel about creating adventures as well. It goes through my process of how I do that. I have one that literally walks through an adventure I created. And I probably have some adventure creation live streams as well on my channel here, or over on my other channel, the DM Lair streams, where you can literally watch me create adventures and stuff. So I can't really like walk through that process in the scope of the time that we have right here, because it's kind of complicated. But when you're planning out a campaign, you don't need to plan out individual encounters. You just have to have those basic ideas I just discussed. Will get you there. It says when the DM smiles, it's already too late, is what it says. Do you implement any penalties to death in your game? What I mean by that is a limit to how many times a player can die or consequences after. One of my players has died 3 times. I personally don't. I just don't care enough about it. I don't feel strongly enough about it to put penalties on dying. I am aware, I am 100% aware of how easy it is to raise characters from the dead. I understand. I know that character death is minimally impactful because of how easy it is to raise a character from the dead in 5th edition. This is how they've designed 5th edition. This is the way it's happened. I have a future video coming up on my channel that talks about the Hickman Manifesto and the Hickman Revolution, and I will delve into the details about why our game 5th edition is so easy compared to the older editions. And I'll talk about some of those things and some of the evolution that we've had over the decades of gameplay and why 5th edition is so easy, and you can barely, characters never die almost. It's really hard to kill them. The only thing that's a real threat is a TPK, a true TPK. And the game has so many mechanisms built into it that prevent that. So I will talk about that in depth. I have that video. That video is coming up in a couple weeks or so, I think, but it's coming up on the channel. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Not answering your question though, I personally don't feel strongly enough about it. I don't really do anything about it. It doesn't bother me because I'm there. There are other parts of the game that are immensely fun for me and satisfying. And to me, the fact that there are no penalties for dying is like a little tiny minor annoyance. It's like an annoyance. It's not worth my time and effort to do something about it. I do know though that there are dungeon masters that do not like that and are passionate about it. I'm pretty sure if you go to, I think he's called Dungeon Craft. Yes, Dungeon Craft, Professor Dungeon Craft. He has like a +2 tweed sweatshirt or something. I don't know. He's cool. I like that guy. He's one of the YouTubers where I listen to his videos and like I really like what he has to say. So go to the Dungeon Craft, and I'm pretty sure on his channel he has some thoughts about character death and what you can do. So I'm sure he has a video. So if you could throw a link out there, Hamad can find his channel and put a link in chat, I'd appreciate that. I really recommend him. He's a good guy. I like his videos and crap. He's like one of the few D&D YouTubers that I actually watch their videos from time to time because he has some really good information in there, and he and I tend to think alike in a lot of ways. I feel like he homebrews a lot of stuff though and has changed his core rules for his games a whole lot. I tend to play raw 5th edition, but I like the dude. So yeah, go check his crap out. Did we get that? Okay. How hard is it to make a custom monster? Do you mainly modify existing monsters, or have you ever made a monster from scratch? Context to making a winged dragon yeah, so I almost always will modify an existing monster. So if I have a concept for a monster in mind, I will find an existing stat block that is close to what I want, and then I'll tweak it. That is infinitely easier than doing something from scratch. That said, doing something from scratch isn't too hard as long as you use online tools. There are online monster builders that will help you build your monster and calculate the challenge rating and stuff like that. The most challenging part of building a monster, in my opinion, from scratch is calculating the challenge rating. That is what I struggle with the most, especially if you're trying to do it to a calculator on pencil and stuff. It's not fun. But if you're using an online tool, it's not so bad. I do have videos, I believe, on the DM Lair streams YouTube channel where I've created monsters on my live streams. I've only done it like a couple times. I haven't done it a whole lot. So that'll, if you want to see what the process is, you can go find those videos over on that other channel, and then you can watch the process that we follow. It's not too bad. You got to do a little bit of thinking though, and it'll take some practice, and you'll screw it up, and you'll make something that's too strong or too weak, and you'll have to play it by ear, like anything. Complex things like that. When you're twiddling with and tweaking game mechanics like that, that's like one of the more difficult and challenging game mechanics to tweak and change and make custom monsters and stuff. I'll tell you, we have So for Lair magazine and from all the free resources that I publish on the dmlair.com, which by the way, go check that out. We have tons and tons of free resources on our website, thedmlair.com. Adventures, traps, puzzles, patrons, like tons of amazing stuff out there. It's all free. You can get it and use it in your games. But all that stuff we publish, I have people that help publish that, paid people. They get paid to publish to create these resources that I then publish. And of all of the things that we pay people to create for us, there are two things that my editors, like my lead developer Ed Robinson and my editor Sonny or somebody else, you know, they constantly have to really keep their eye on two things that are the most difficult things to write. The first is adventures. It takes a really good writer and to write an adventure. It takes someone with skill and talent to write an adventure properly. The second thing is monster stat blocks. Like almost every single, not all of them, but many of the monster stat blocks that get reviewed by my team have lots of corrections to them all over the place because it's challenging, it's hard. So my only point is don't be afraid to do it because it's just your own personal game. You got nothing to lose really, you know, but expect it to be challenging perhaps and expect you to make mistakes, and then you'll have to keep working at it and you'll get better at it. Dude, yeah, Major Mass, the Trask is a pushover. It has no ranged attacks. It's so stupid. It's like the stupidest creature in the world. No range. I'll tell you what, every single one of my monsters, every one that I ever put in the game has a ranged attack. Always, always, always. Unless there's a really, really good reason not to, but they almost 95% of them have ranged attacks because it's ridiculous not to have a ranged attack on a creature. Would you trust the magic item prices and general economy that Wizards of the Coast provides in Xanathar's guide? No, don't trust it. I've already had to tweak some of that stuff. It's not helpful. Yes, melee, range, and reposition. All good monsters need these, absolutely. By reposition, what Tyson is referring to is the ability to move around the battlefield. Mobility. Being able to position yourself on the battlefield properly is huge. This is why when I create a legendary monster, or my writers create a legendary monster, a boss monster that has legendary actions, it is always my recommendation that your boss monster has a legendary action that is to move, to be able to move, because movement is very, very important in a tactical combat. It is huge. Your positioning on a map and where you place yourself is huge, plays a big role in that battle. So yes, being able to move about is super important for a monster. Oh yes, teleportation with monsters. Yes, I had a creature once that I used against my Ancient Dragon game who was the ultimate in mobility. He was crazy mobility. He was a Rakshasa who also basically had levels in monk. I didn't give him literal levels, but he had a bunch of monk abilities and legendary actions and some spells, and he could do some crazy stuff. He could essentially misty step different places, and then he had some monk abilities that gave him super fast speed. He was crazy. They could not pin him down. He was all over the place. They couldn't pin him down. It was great. Nazgûl, yes, that guy. They couldn't get him. Did you guys kill him though? No, he teleported away. You guys, Goliath Cleric, you guys need to figure out a solution for creatures teleporting away. This is going to continue to be a thing. Like, so many high-level creatures have plane shift or teleport, you know, or can spellcast. It's going to be a reoccurring thing. Your villains are going to keep getting away because they have access to that ability, you know. And it's hit you guys before you even started playing with us. It's hit the group many times that bad guys keep getting away because they can cast those spells, you know. Plane shifted, yeah. What if a Tarrasque had blink? Ooh, that's a good spell, by the way. That's a great spell. Oh, there was somebody had a question on my thought. Oh, there we go. What are your thoughts and predictions for 5.5 edition or 6th edition D&D? Oh, we'd love to speculate about this. We love to speculate about this because we've been told nothing. This is the way as a company that you create hype for a product. You tell people that something is coming, but you tell them nothing about it. So what happened? What happened? The moment they're like, Wizards is like, aha, we're gonna tell you about the next edition. And then they give you no details. So what happens? Literally the next week, almost every single YouTuber in the world is like, D&D 5th edition, 5.5, 6th edition, woo! Videos are coming out. Everybody's talking about this, that, and the other. It's like, oh, let's get on this topic. Let's talk. And they're creating all this buzz and this hype and stuff, you know, and every single video is basically like, well, Wizard didn't tell us anything, so here are my predictions. Let me give you our top 5 predictions for 6th edition. And they sit there and talk for 40 minutes about their predictions and stuff, you know. That's creating hype and creating buzz, you know, that's like what they do. So what are my predictions for 5.5 and 6th edition? Supposedly it's supposed to be backwards compatible with 5th edition. My prediction is that there are probably gonna be lots of things about it that I don't like. Wizards tends to be making a lot of decisions as a company that I don't like. So I'm probably gonna not like it. That's really my biggest prediction. I know that's not saying a whole lot, but I feel like they're probably going to make changes based upon vocal minority opinions. You know, like the people that the small group of people that like makes a lot of noise, but does not represent the desires of the majority of people. They're going to listen to lots of loudmouths, you know, on Twitter and stuff. And they change directions based upon like social media, people going nuts on Twitter. And yet there's a big, huge, massive player base, you know, that like doesn't want all that crap. And they're changing direction regardless of what this massive audience base necessarily wants. I mean, a lot of people do, but there are people that don't. And they're just, yeah, so I don't know. I don't know that it's going to be something I like. I hope it is. But I don't have high hopes, in all honesty. You think 5.5 or 6th edition is going to go to the way of 4th edition? Oh, you mean nobody's going to play it? They're all going to be like, pfft. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you mean? Well, you guys saw the, what was that stupid book? Oh, yeah. Well, you guys saw The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, right? There's one part in that book about Fatco the Clown that essentially is giving the middle finger to old school gamers. It's essentially giving the middle finger to an entire group of gamers. Like, go look at that book. Look at Fatco the Clown. It's intentionally the middle finger to old school gamers. It's essentially telling them that, you know, Wizards does not care about them. So pissed me off. I have a script and some notes for a video that I want to make. That the inclusion of Fatco the Clown in that book disgusts me. It disgusts me. It is wildly inappropriate. And I think that it is irresponsible to have sensitivity readers combing through the books so that you're sensitive to certain groups, but they don't care about being insensitive to other groups. And they're perfectly welcome to label and generalize and stereotype other groups. And that pisses me off. So I have some notes and we're going to have a future video about Fatco the Clown. So that's part of what I mean by when I say they don't care about certain parts of their customer base. Because you have people who have been playing D&D since they were kids, the oldest editions and stuff, and who are now in their 40s and 50s and 60s and stuff. you know, and the company is essentially like giving them the middle finger with Thaco the Clown. And it's not cool. It's not cool at all. So anyway, the tease for a future video. That's gonna be a rant video. I'm gonna go freaking nuts on that video. It's like, if you want to be sensitive to people, I support that. You want to be inclusive, I 100% support that. But don't tell me that you want to be sensitive and inclusive of certain groups, but not others. That is not cool. Not cool at all. Just pisses me off. Okay, but we're gonna get on to happier topics now. I'm out of coffee too. Oh yeah, what up? Skythe DeSexton, what up? 35 years? Nice. Grognard. I actually looked up Grognard. I was like, how do you pronounce that word? And Grognard is a French word, and it describes like veteran soldiers basically coming back from war and stuff like that, is my understanding. And so it's Grognard is like roughly how you pronounce it, but I'm not French, so I'm probably screwing it up. But anyway. All corporations are doing this. I used to be a Star Wars fan. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of problems with Star Wars right now. We should not talk about that. You don't want me to talk about Star Wars. It's so bad. It's so bad. What do you think is the best way to introduce new players to each other at the start of a campaign without using the normal party starting out in a tavern? I have an entire video about starting out in a tavern or not starting out in a tavern. I probably made it about a year ago or something like that. But I personally have no problems whatsoever with starting them out in a tavern. There are so many good things about a tavern. A tavern is perfect starting place. First of all, it's logical. Everybody, when you're fresh to a city, where do you go? The tavern. You get some food and a place to sleep. It's a normal place where people would go and meet. It's where people mingle. Besides the town square, a tavern is where people are going to mingle together. So it totally makes sense that an adventuring party is going to meet each other in a tavern. It also totally makes sense that even if they already have met each other and they arrive in a city, they go to the tavern first. There are so many things that from a roleplay perspective make total sense. A tavern also allows the opportunity for them to talk to each other, roleplay, introduce their characters and stuff like that. They can talk to the innkeeper and say, hey, what's going on around here? You know, they can get plot hooks there. There can be other people at the tavern. They approach them and say, hey, I noticed a bunch of weapons. You guys look like you're adventurers. You know what? I have a bunch of rats in my cellar. Do you think you can help me out? So, and then of course you have your classic tavern brawl. Level 1 characters, it's a fist fight. There are a lot of things that a tavern has going for it. So I personally don't care about that trope. I think that it's fine, and I'm perfectly happy to do it in my games. Now, there are other ways you can do it. How you can introduce them is all up to your own imagination and creativity. If you don't like that trope, then do something else. But that's up to your imagination. But you want to make sure that it needs to bring them together for some reason. You need to have a way to bring them together. You need to have a reason for them to bring together, and probably have some sort of plot hook that gets introduced to them that leads them on their first adventure. That's what you need. You need them to be brought together, and then you need a plot hook that gets them rolling on their very first adventure. If you can figure out a different way to do that, rock on. But that's going to be your own creativity to figure that out. Do you ever use player sheets or for NPCs or villains? No. Holy crap, no. Stat blocks. I do not use character sheets for my NPCs or villains. Absolutely not. Character sheets are too complex. They are made for players who are running one character. Stat blocks were made for dungeon masters who have to run multiple creatures, potentially in a combat. So no character sheets. Get rid of that. Wreckage, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. What are your thoughts on monsters finishing off downed players?
Is it too brutal to describe it ripping off a PC's arm or appendage? No, I do that all the time. Are you kidding me? I literally have a group right now that's about to go to a certain place, and one of the creatures in there is one of the lieutenants. And in the encounter notes that I created for it, I've explicitly written down that this creature he wants to establish his dominance, and he wants to show these players, he wants to show the enemies that he is not to be trifled with. And so in my encounter notes, it literally says that if he reduces a character to 0 hit points and drops him, he will grab that character, fly up in the air, and begin to rip him apart, dismember him, and throw the body parts down to the ground in a display of power and dominance in order to strike fear and terror into the other characters' hearts. Like literally, that is how I have decided to roleplay that villain. And so if somebody drops to 0, that's what's gonna happen, or he's gonna try to do that. And so, no, I don't think that that's a problem at all. In my case, I'm specifically doing it for roleplay reasons. I'm 100% roleplaying it. However, it is also something that powerful creatures that have been in existence for a long period of time, devils, demons, creatures that live hundreds of years, centuries even, they have fought high-level characters before. They know that high-level characters will go down. They look like they're dead. They're not moving, but then somebody throws a healing spell at them and they get right back up. So devils and demons, creatures that have existed for a long period of time, they know this, and they will confirm the kill when it makes sense to do so. So that is one thing. The other thing is if you have enemies in combat that they observe somebody going down and then getting back up because that person cast a spell, they're gonna do 2 things. 1, if somebody goes down, stab them a few times to make sure. 2, target that cleric over there who's healing everybody, because that can't keep going on. The third thing that happens in your game world as well is that as your adventuring party gets stronger and stronger and they go through more and more adventures, they get higher in level, they begin to develop renown and fame in the city, in the local area, across the kingdom, all up and down the Sword Coast. And people will hear of their exploits, and people will hear tales, and the villains will hear those tales as well. The villains will begin to learn about them. They're going to begin to learn what they're capable of, the spells they can cast. They will hear stories about how the fighter and the barbarian constantly go down, and the other person casts healing spells and gets them back up. They will know these things, they will prepare for them, and when they actually meet them in combat, they will make sure they focus fire on spellcasters, on the cleric. They will have counterspell in place. They will have dispel magic in place. They will make sure that when the barbarian goes down, 3 enemies immediately swarm him and stab the crap out of him to make sure he never gets up again. So, and these are mostly role-playing. These are role-playing. You're role-playing your enemies, your bad guys, in a logical, intelligent way that makes sense. Would you have goblins behave this way? Maybe not. They're not very intelligent. They haven't lived very long. They're not very experienced. Would you have a Merilith behave this way? Absolutely. She drops the PC, and then with 3 or 4 of her other swords, she stabs the crap out of him. All right, you're done. Goodbye. And she's gonna keep rinsing and repeating that because it makes sense for a Merilith. It doesn't make sense for goblins to do that. Does it make sense for zombies to do it? No, they're unthinking undead. Does it make sense for a Death Knight to do it? Quite possibly. So these are considerations you want to take into account, and it's all based upon role-playing your creatures, your enemies, your villains. It has nothing to do with metagaming. It has nothing to do with the Dungeon Master saying, it's not fair that the PCs just get back up again. It's not fair. I want them to die. It has nothing to do with that. It is literally you role-playing your creatures properly. And sometimes you're going to do it, and sometimes you won't. And that's the way you go about that. All right, I want to get this one.
I'm out of coffee. I keep trying to drink it and there's nothing in here. I like making dumb goblins that are just trying their best. I want to see a Merilith chef chopping a player up for a big pot of stew. Yes, that's awesome. I have seen zombies run as chowing down on PCs they drive. Oh, I have ghouls do that. Like when I'm role playing a ghoul, what drives a ghoul? What motivates a ghoul? They want to eat you. They want to eat your flesh. They want to break your bones, and they want to lick the marrow out of your bones. That is the motivation for a ghoul. So if a ghoul drops a character down to 0 hit points, they grab them and begin to drag them away. And then they start to bite them and rip their flesh off and feast on them, because that is what motivates a ghoul. What motivates a T-Rex? Ripping you apart and eating you. That's what a T-Rex does. That's what dinosaurs do. That's what unthinking beasts do, unless they're just being territorial and defending their territory. In that case, they might just want to kill you and they don't care about eating you. So it depends on their motivations. But again, we're back to role playing. Why would a zombie eat something? I don't think a zombie would eat anything. Zombies don't need to eat anything. They just exist. All right, we are going to do a cat strike. No, not a cat strike, a cat trip. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this right here is our famed cat crack. My cats are already coming over. They can smell it. This is catnip. This is not an illicit substance. Do not report me. It is catnip. I bought it because it sounds cool. It says cat crack. I thought it was cool. So we're gonna give my kitty cats this in just a moment, because right now a message from our sponsor.
This content is brought to you by Lair magazine. Are you a busy dungeon master without enough time to create content for your D&D game? Would you like professional, pre-made 5th edition adventures and other resources you can drag and drop into your existing campaign? If so, Lair magazine has exactly what you need. Every issue of Lair magazine comes with 2 5th edition adventures, maps designed for use on virtual tabletops, and other dungeon master resources. New monsters, puzzles, traps, magic items, NPCs, pre-made encounters, and more. Become a DM Lair patron today to get a new issue of Lair magazine every month, along with loads of bonus content, such as additional 5th edition adventures and map packs with even more digital maps. DM Lair patrons also get extra perks, such as playing in D&D games with me, voting on the videos I make, access to my VIP Discord channel, a monthly video hangout over Zoom, and more. Click that link below to learn more and become a DM Lair patron today.
Okay, here we go. We have assembled here the happy carrot and the banana. And this is why I have a coffee cam. We are now going to liberally apply the catnip to these and give it to my kitty cats. And they are freaking out. They're swarming. They're like sharks. All right, okay. Guys are crazy. I have 2 of them. We have 2 of them. I predict a cat fight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, watch Squeaky. Tell me if anybody misbehaves, and I'll be back momentarily. We have Tortellini here. She almost never comes on stream. Tortellini is the one that has a little bit of like calico look to her. She's in the lower left. We call her Little Girl. She almost never comes on stream. She's very like skittish. She gets scared easily. Squeaky's always tripping out. He's always like rolling around and yeah. Jordan Allen, what's up, dude? Thank you so much for becoming a member. I really appreciate that. Just as a reminder, folks, my members, my YouTube channel members do get priority for all of the questions that we do tonight, as do super chats. So if you're interested in getting your question percolated to the top, that is an option. Yeah, Squeaky's amazing. Little girl. Also want to remind folks really quick here too, before we jump into the rest of the questions, that we are trying to raise $500 for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. In the past, I have donated money to the Lansing Area Humane Society, Capital Area Humane Society, and the Boys and Girls Club of Lansing. One of the things we do on our streams is all of your tips go toward a charity. And right now we are focusing on raising $500 for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disorder that affects the lungs, pancreas, and other organs. Makes it difficult for people to breathe, is my understanding. So it's not a cool thing. So hoping to raise $500 for those folks. If you would like to contribute, you're welcome to. It is through tipping, and there is a link in the chat for you. Really appreciate that. You guys are going crazy. I love it. How do you make long travel interesting for a group of new players? This is my theory. Oh, I gotta click that. I always forget to click that button. This is my theory on travel in D&D. My theory on travel in D&D. Can you make travel interesting? Yeah, you could. Are there ways to make travel interesting? Yeah, there are. Is it worth it? Maybe, maybe not. So here's why. Everyone knows that the adventure, that you got this plot hook, go do X, Y, and Z. Everyone knows that that happens at point B, and you're at point A. So like the goal is to get to point B so that you can go do that thing that you decided to do. And getting from point A to point B is like not super interesting. People really just want to get to the adventure. So the Dungeon Master has a choice. I can focus my game time on making that travel interesting, or I can focus the game time on getting them to point B where the players really want to be. So my take on this is that the emphasis should be on what happens at point B on that adventure. So in the meantime, so how do we handle the travel though? Do we just do fast travel? Are we just playing Skyrim? Is that all it is? We click the fast travel button and then you're there? No, because that's not there is an opportunity in travel to make it interesting and fun for your players. The trick is you don't want to elongate it too much. If you make the travel from point A to point B too long and take too much time at the game table, it loses its luster. You want an interesting, fun travel time in a short time period at the game table. Let me give you an example. This is what I did recently for my Ancient Dragon game. They were traveling from point A to point B from Athkalan Am all the way to the Troll Mountains, which is probably about 15 days away of travel. and I was having them roll every single day. They were rolling for random encounters, and we ended up with 6 or 7 random encounters along the way. I did this purely as an experiment. Usually I don't do this. Usually when a group is traveling from point A to point B, I have there be one encounter, and I'll explain why in a moment. But this time I decided to do a test. I decided to do an experiment. What if I literally have them roll for random encounters all along the way and just see what happens? We ended up having 7 random encounters. And I was, as part of this experiment, I had decided that I'm just going to stick with what the dice say. If it calls for a random encounter, we do a random encounter. And we ended up with 7 random encounters, and I don't know how my players felt, but I can tell you that as a dungeon master, I felt like this is no longer fun. After the 3rd one, it was kind of like, I don't know if this is the best way to be using our game time. I think things could be more fun if we just got them over to the Troll Mountains where they were actually heading. But for the sake of the experiment, I stuck it out. I wanted to see what would happen if I actually did that in a game. And I haven't asked my players yet. I probably need to see what they thought of it. I know that I didn't like it. I would have rather just had there be, my normal practice is 1 random encounter and then you arrive. And so I don't think that worked too well. My usual theory, the way I usually do random encounters, and this is what I'm recommending to you, and this is how I would recommend making this is how I would recommend making travel interesting, is when they're traveling from point A to point B, you want them to have probably ideally a couple things. You want to do a couple things to make travel interesting for them. There's an opportunity for you to obviously have some sort of encounter, usually with a monster or a creature that you're not normally going to be able to use in your game. This is an opportunity for you as the dungeon master to use some creatures that you think are really cool but don't fit with the theme of your campaign or the different adventures you're going on. So it allows you to do that thing that you think is cool, and it gives a little bit of variety and spice to your players. One encounter along the way from point A to point B, and it doesn't matter how far that is. It doesn't matter if they're going from Akatla all the way across the entire continent, or if they're just traveling from Waterdeep to Rassalantar, which is like a day away. 1 encounter, regardless of distance. We're not talking about realism here. Realism doesn't matter. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about gameplay. How can you as a game master make that travel most interesting for your players? How can you maximize the enjoyment of the game time that you have? And that is by having that 1 encounter, as I just mentioned, and then a point of interest. Something interesting that they find or see along the way. This could be, and I've given this example before, there could be a tower that they see just off the road, and it's this crumbling old tower, and it looks interesting, and you can describe it and stuff to them, and they go look at it, and they search around and they find some stuff. They find a book in there, they find some lore about the tower, and it turns out that this tower disappears every morning and reappears somewhere else in the game world. You don't know where, it's always random. And if they stay in that tower, it will leave that current location and reappear somewhere else in the game world. And so that is the point of interest they find along the way. Now, that is a very dangerous point of interest because that could change the entire course of your campaign. Warning, if your players decide to do that, your whole campaign changes. Everything changes because they could be somewhere else entirely. So be careful. But my point is this. Traveling from point A to point B, no matter how long and far the distance is, you have 1 encounter and you have 1 point of interest, something about the world, about lore that can be intriguing and interesting for your characters. And then they arrive at the destination. And the random encounter is probably going to take you maybe a half an hour of gameplay. And then the point of interest, 15 minutes maybe, depending on how much they poke around and stuff. And then you get to the adventure. And in my opinion, that is probably the best way that I've found to do it, so that you can have some interesting stuff happen along the way, but it doesn't feel like the game is bogging down and it's taking forever to get to where you're going. And people are getting tired of the random encounters and they just want to get there. They just want to get to the adventure because that's where we really wanted to go. And so that is my recommendation for making travel interesting. One encounter, one point of interest, and then you arrive at your destination. And many times I plan those things. My random encounters aren't actually random a lot of times. Sometimes they are. I've recently been, like I said before, I've been trying out the random encounter tables in Lair magazine. But many times I choose what they are and I plan them in advance. So, pro tip. What did Danny say? Oh, biome difficulties? That's a big word. Curated encounters. That's exactly what I'm talking about. What is going on? Squeaky and little girl are like chasing each other. Yeah. Goliath cleric. Random encounters get old pretty quick. Yeah, they do, don't they? you and your buddies in that game were my guinea pigs for that game session, because I was determined to try it out and just stick to my guns because I wanted to see how it went, and that experiment helped reinforce my opinion of a better way to do it, because I had thought that I had discovered a better way to do it, right? But I needed to try out a different way to kind of confirm that, yeah, my strategy is better. It was not good. Oh, I know it wasn't. Which is why I don't know if you noticed that, but you had a good part of that game session where you guys were doing random encounters, and then the next game session, you guys had one curated encounter that was optional, 100% optional. And then you arrived at your destination. I don't know if you noticed that, but that Hydra that you guys went and fought, 100% optional. I described you finding the tracks, but only the tracks. And you did not have to go do anything, but you guys all decided to go do it. So that was an optional one for you. And then after that, I was like, screw it, you arrive, because we're done. we're done with the travel encounters. Yeah, and you got a bunch of loot from it too. All right, have I missed any member questions or super chats? Wow, mommy cat is going crazy with the banana. What are you doing, mommy? Here she comes. He's like, hello, you want to come up here? You want to be on YouTube? Mommy. She's all worked up. Mommy. She's worked up. What do you do when your players want to use diplomacy in the middle of a combat? We're fighting, dude. We're fighting. It's a little too late for diplomacy. Especially if you gave them a chance to talk it out beforehand. But now it's too late. Now they're mad. No, dude, it's too late. Like, in my opinion, there's only like... If there was a chance to talk things out beforehand, your players are like, no, let's go. And then they're fighting. Probably there's two instances when the players are going to want to resort to diplomacy at that point. One, they're losing. We're getting our butts kicked. Wait, let's talk about this. But bad guys may or may not bite on that. It depends on what the bad guy's motivation is. If the bad guy's motivation at that point is just to kill them, then they're probably not going to talk it out. They're just going to go ahead and kill them. But if the bad guy's motivated by something else, then they might pause and talk things out and ask for their surrender and ask them to lay down their weapons and surrender their weapons and their staves and their spell component pouches and their backpacks and their boots and their belts. I don't know, whatever. So that is a thing that might happen. The other condition in which characters might be like, wait, let's talk, is if the players are winning and the bad guys are losing, and the players don't want to kill the bad guys, they want them to surrender for reasons. At that point, if the bad guys know that they're losing pretty badly and the players are offering them a chance to surrender and not die, bad guys might accept that because, hey, it looks like we're all gonna die. If we surrender, maybe we'll live. Now, maybe we won't, maybe they'll kill us, but we might live. But the way things look right now, we're screwed. So diplomacy in the middle of combat for a couple different reasons, and it really just comes down to role playing. What are the different people's motivations? How would they react in that situation? So that's how I would handle it, and it's circumstantial, 100% circumstantial. I feel like half of the answers I'm giving you tonight are like, it depends on the specific circumstances. It all comes down to role playing. It's role playing. That's like all my answers are just role play. You guys notice too that when I'm talking about role playing, I am talking about thinking about an NPC's motivations, goals, and desires. That is what role playing is. You are putting yourself in that person's shoes and saying, based upon who I am, what my motivation, goals, my profession is, what would I do and what would I say? That's role playing, deciding actions and deciding conversations. Role playing is not talking in voices. Role playing is not just the talkie where people are talking in, oh, hey, I was going there. That's not role playing. That's one facet of role playing. But role playing is so much broader than that. So when we say role playing, that's role playing. Luke, are you going to start a new campaign after Strahd is done? Of course. What else am I going to do? I talked to my players about that too, and I told them, hey guys, I have run Sword Coast Guard game for you. That took us like 3 years, 4 years, I don't know, 3 I think. And now I've run Curse of Strahd for you, and we're not getting close to the end really. There's still probably, I bet there's probably another year of gameplay left. But once we finish Curse of Strahd, I want to take a break. And I would like one of you to run something. In fact, not only that, but I would like any of you who want to take a stab at being a dungeon master to run an adventure for us. Not a campaign, one adventure that takes like 3 game sessions or something. So Aaron, if you want to try to be a dungeon master, cool. You run one adventure for us. Trevor, you want to be a dungeon master? Cool. Run an adventure for us. Kevin, great. Let's go. Alex, let's do it. I wanted to give all of my players the opportunity to run an adventure because, they might be interested in doing it, but also complete selfish motivation. I wanted to take a break from being a game master and relax a little bit. It also gives me time to prepare for my next campaign, whatever that ends up being, so I get to prepare more for the campaign, get ready for it, while also, being a player a little bit, and then giving an opportunity to my other players to be game masters if they want to. And so that's what I proposed to them, and it was well received. So we'll probably get at least a couple people that run adventures, I imagine. But then I will of course be running a game again. That's where you're at right now, Nixit. Just taking a break. Your players are running games for you. He's gonna retire. No Strahd, no channel. That's the final straw. Danny's like sowing discord and discontent among the viewers. How did she get a wrench? We're gonna fix this. Anthony English, thank you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. You stole the wrench? That is so. What are you, a plumber? Are you a poor plumber? You can't afford your own wrenches? You're stealing other people's wrenches? That's so messed up. Deceiver, what's up, dude? How you doing, man? Good to see you, buddy. A DM swap? Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't think I could sit through an entire campaign. I don't think I could do that. And that's why I expressly told my players, Run an adventure. Anybody who wants to run an adventure, run an adventure. I don't want to be a player in a full-blown campaign necessarily. Not if it means I have to stop being a dungeon master. No. I have way more fun being a game master than I do being a player any day of the week. So like, I definitely want to keep on running that campaign for them, whatever it turns into being, you know, but take a break and let them run some adventures. But if one of them wanted to run an entire campaign, like, yeah, I don't think I could do that. I would just not be able to do that. I don't think I could. Even if they're a good dungeon master, I would just get bored and lose interest because I need the dungeon mastering. You know, it's so much more engaging for me mentally at the game table. Being a player usually is boring to me. It usually is boring to me. It takes a phenomenal dungeon master for me not to be bored in a game. You know, so I would rather just be a dungeon master. Because then I'm not bored. The PC layer. Oh. Hello! I was wondering what kind of things do PCs like to do or are interested in doing in a city? I'm looking at some modules, a lot of locations to poke around, worth prepping a lot of it. I don't prep a lot of stuff for cities, in all honesty. If the adventure isn't happening in the city, most of the time players are going to go to a tavern or they're going to go shopping. That's really it. Now, you can build stuff and flesh things out a lot more. It really depends on how much emphasis you want to put on that city. It really depends. My players once went to Athkatla not too long ago, and they run most of their campaign in Waterdeep. And so I prepped Athkatla. I knew the different wards, the different districts. I knew who the rulers were. I knew a lot of the political thing. I knew a decent amount about Athkatla, but at a high level. And then when they were actually there, I improvised everything. There was a shopkeeper. I think he was a guild. He was like a jewelry dealer. I improvised him in the moment, made it up 100%. Had no plans of doing that guy. And then there was another person who was a clothier. She made like garments and stuff. Again, improvised 100%. And my players hated her, by the way. They loved the jeweler and hated the woman because of the way I was like portraying her, you know. She was all arrogant and snobbish and stuff. Whereas the jeweler was like very helpful and a nice guy. But anyway, those sorts of details, the specific shops, I improvised on the fly. I'm not gonna develop those out in advance necessarily. Sometimes I will. It depends on what I'm trying to accomplish and do. But I prep the city at a very high level information, and then I improvise the details on the fly as needed. That is usually how I will prep a city that players are going to, because it doesn't take that much effort to prep that way. It's not, for me personally, it's not hard to improvise those things on the fly during the game. It comes pretty naturally to me. If that's not the case for you, then you might need to prep more, you know, and that's really the golden rule of prepping. You prep those things that you don't want to or can't improvise on the fly. That's the golden rule. So the things that I'm bad at prepping, the things that I'm bad at improvising are maps. Those I plan in advance. The things that I'm good at improvising are NPCs and voices and portraying them and motivations and goals. Those things are fairly easy for me. I have to have a very prominent NPC for me to actually prepare them in advance. Otherwise, the little throwaway NPCs just get made up on the fly and I don't worry about them a whole lot. Do you give options for cover, high or low ground on most of your battle encounters? Yes. You need to have some sort of terrain options. Cover, things need to be on the battle map. There need to be options for them. Now, my players don't always take advantage of them. They go into dungeons and there are tables and there are chairs and there's furniture in there. All this stuff's in there. They almost never use them. They're there They could easily decide to tip the table over and duck behind it to get cover. They never do. They could the closet, the armoire that's there, they could like dump it on the ground and create some cover. They could push it up behind a door to barricade the door or something. They could do lots of different things. The options are there. My players rarely do it. Sometimes they do, but most of the time they just kind of ignore it. So whatever, I'm giving them the options. It's up to them to use them. And if they don't, okay, that's fine. You don't have to. My enemies might maybe use them. Sometimes they do, but again, not all the time. So give them the options and let them do with it as they please. What are your thoughts on adjusting combat on the fly, changing hit points, and adding or not bringing in enemies that were planned? I do it sometimes. I would say more and more though, I do it rarely. I used to do it way more than I do it now. And this is probably like a season or just a change in style. Nowadays, I prefer to run the enemy how I planned in advance and not change things on the fly. That's my preference. I don't know why. I just like it better. I feel like the enemy is what it is. It is what it is. If it's way too hard and you guys all need to like scramble and run away or something, well, that's life. If it's too easy, okay, that's life. So I more and more tend to do that, and I don't curate the encounters on the fly. Now, sometimes I do. Sometimes I absolutely do. I was running a battle recently where the enemy didn't have a ranged attack. And I'm like, this is the stupidest thing in the world. So in that moment, he had a ranged attack. Why? Because if I had had the time to review all of those sorts of details prior to the game, and I had noticed that there was no ranged attack and thought about it, I would have given that enemy a ranged attack. And so in the moment when that creature was there with no ranged attack, I was like, that's stupid. And he had a ranged attack, and I improvised that on the fly. So there are times I do it. There are times I do it. There are other times I don't. So it really depends. Most of the time though, these days, I tend not to do that. I tend to just run things straight, so to speak. And I'm not saying that one way is better than the other. This is more of a personal preference type thing, and I have reasons for doing so. There's nothing wrong with adjusting things. We have a joke in my Curse of Strahd game that enemies have an appropriate amount of hit points. It's like an ongoing joke. They have a dramatic amount of, the right amount of hit points to create drama and excitement. My players might think I do that, but especially for the Curse of Strahd game, that doesn't happen really. Like they fought Strahd recently. Oh man, they fought Strahd recently. They got their butts handed to them. The fear of Strahd was in their hearts. Dude, yeah, they got it. It was beautiful. Do you have some creative ways in mind to bring new spells to a wizard so he can add them to his spellbook? I'm not into him buying those, and I've done a couple of mage dungeons already. No, I got nothing, dude. You've got wizards that have spellbooks and you have scrolls. I mean, you can come up with other ideas, like, okay, they're in a dungeon and then there's writing on the wall. And as they study the writing, your wizard realizes that, hey, this is some ancient hieroglyphics from a dead empire, and these look kind of like spells. Holy crap. These are spells from a long dead empire. What spells are these? And it turns out that they are not spells that are in the player's handbook. They are not spells in Xanathar's or Tasha's. They are spells that you made up, or that you got from Lair magazine, or you got from a different resource. And then you're introducing brand new spells to your players from a long dead empire, and there's some lore around it, and they get cool new spells. So yes, you can absolutely do stuff like that. And I just made that up right now. It's up to your own creativity and imagination to think of ways to introduce spells. So if you don't care about dropping scrolls or having them buy them or having more mages in your dungeon, the answer is to think. Use your imagination, use your creativity, just like I kind of did right now, and think of different ways to introduce spells to your players. And that could be super cool. It would definitely be more interesting than finding more spell scrolls. So it's really just up to you to, like, you know, get those gears spinning. Running away is a perfectly sound battle strategy. Yeah, absolutely. That's being a DM. That is what being a DM is. Yes. Tactical repositioning. Bye, Danny. Have a good night. Thank you for coming by. By the way, everybody, just want to let you know, don't buy the DM Lair merch and hoodies. All of our merch is absolutely horrible. It like frays and comes apart in the wash. It's the worst merchandise you're ever gonna buy. So do not click that link that one of my moderators is gonna put up there, but because you don't want to buy the merch, it's just absolute garbage. So yeah, have a nice night, Danny. It's good seeing you. Ooh. You mentioned Kobold Press on the other stream. Are there any good books you recommend? I'm happy you asked. I am pleased to give Kobold Press some free sponsorship messaging. Hold on a second. Oh, my pants are falling apart. All right, so we got Tome of Beasts 1 and 2 right here. These things are spectacular, you guys. Absolutely phenomenal books. They also have Creature Codex. You guys, seriously, they're amazing books. Why are they amazing books? Well, first of all, it's all monsters. 300 pages plus of monsters. It's not 50% monsters and 50% bullcrap to just kind of fluff the pages and stuff. You get literal stat blocks. All right, that's the first thing. Second thing I love about the Kobold Press monsters, Tome of Beasts 2, and Creature Codex. I actually don't own Creature Codex, but I've been told that they're pretty similar to these, and so I'm just trusting my informants. The thing I love about them is that their monsters are way more interesting than what Wizards produces. They have special abilities, they do conditions and different things like that. Many of the monsters you find in like the monster manual and stuff are kind of sacks of hit points that do damage. And they might have a spell or something like that, maybe a special ability, but a lot of the stat blocks are just kind of like, the Tome of Beasts, I've noticed that there's a lot more interesting and fun things the monsters can do in combat to make combat more interesting. And here's the other great thing about the Tome of Beasts. Because Kobold Press designed those monsters for their own custom campaign, which is a higher difficulty than normal 5th edition, the monsters in Tome of Beasts are a little bit more challenging than their challenge rating number would indicate. This means that it helps you as a dungeon master keep up with all of the power creep that is inherent in 5th edition. Because you understand, the developers of 5th edition are doing what we call engineered obsolescence. They are intentionally engineering the game through splat books so that it becomes more and more broken and obsolete. And so that there must needs be another edition to fix all of the problems that happened in the game. And it's called engineered obsolescence because it's an intentional thing that game designers do to make the game go obsolete so that they can make a new edition which makes more money, you know, and then gets old audiences reinvigorated and more interested in the game because, oh, we were tired of 5th edition, but oh, it's 6th edition. Let's go try it out. Let's buy some books, you know? And so this is something that's done intentionally. And so right now, I feel like what we see happening is many of the character options in Tasha's and Xanathar's and stuff are introducing this massive power creep, and yet the monsters aren't getting that same boost. The monsters are kind of lagging behind. And this is creating, and a lot of the different class combinations and character combinations and stuff create a more and more broken combinations that kind of breaks the game more and more, you know, so that you can get another edition out of it, basically. So anyway, the point is that there's power creep, right? Tome of Beasts helps you as a dungeon master keep up with that power creep, because these monsters are nasty, some of them, and they're going to make the game more challenging, which really just keeps you on a level playing field with your players. And so, yes, I love Tome of Beasts from Kobold Press. It's very, very, very good. They did not pay me to say that. They should, though. But they won't. Because I'm doing it because I want to. Look, Luke, as long as you're gonna say it for free, we're not gonna pay you, dude. I'm like, okay, that's I suppose. We'll just take that. I'd like to try my hand at DMing for the first time. What DM layer, level 1 through whatever adventure, should we start with? Well, let's see. Let's go take a look at some different adventures that you could run for your group. So let's go over here. We're gonna go. Let me see. Go right here. We're gonna go to the dmlayer.com, where we have tons of free resources that you can use for your game. So we're going to click the free DM resources right up here. And right here we have a list of tons of free resources, and we're going to go to find the level 1 through 4 adventures. And we have a bunch of things we can select from. Broken Temptations is really, really cool. Your group will have tons of fun with that one. That is a really cool adventure. That's a good one. Red Rummers, that was a cool one. Truffle, A Bard's Tale. This is interesting. A Bard's Tale was pretty interesting too. Beholden Temple, Fishy Business. All of these are pretty solid. This one is confusing. It's not well written. I wrote it. It was one of the very first things I ever published on my site, and it's kind of confusing. So you might not want to do that one. I would definitely recommend some of these more recent ones, especially the Broken Temptations is a very, very cool adventure. So my recommendation is for this one right here. And by the way, you guys, if you want 100% free game master resources that you can use in your game, this is where you want to go, the dmlayer.com. We have D&D adventures and DM resources. We have oh, whoops, I clicked the wrong button. Let's go back over there. I'm professional. We have adventures all the way up to level 20, and you can sort and you can shift through them. Oh, maybe up to level 18. Adventure ideas. We have factions and patrons, magic items, monsters, NPCs, puzzles, really cool, well-written ones, especially the most recent ones. Traps, villains, monster abilities. I literally pay people to create this content so that we can offer it to you for free to help you in your games. So please avail yourself of this resource. It's free. It's pretty high quality. It's not obviously going to be as high quality as Lair magazine, because that is our premium publication that we put out to our patrons. But if you're on a budget, then DM Lair, dude, that's where you want to go. There we go. I get to plug all my stuff. Look at this, Lair! Where can I find that mug? I don't know if we have a mug command. I know we do on Twitch. We might not have one here. Sorry. So maybe one of my moderators can message me and I might be able to put a command up here. But we definitely have one. Yeah, but probably not on YouTube. Probably on Twitch. Hulk Hammer, what's up, dude? Yes, welcome to the stream, buddy. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Mug. There. That's where you can find the mug. Bingo, bango. What happened to the old Draconicish? I have the other mug. I have 2 mugs. It's kind of been retired. So I have I have 2 mugs, really. So I have this dragon type one. This is just off Amazon. You can look for a dragon mug on Amazon and find this one. I think if a moderator will link my Amazon storefront, I'm pretty sure I have it listed on my Amazon page, my storefront as well. If you want to get that mug, this is very nice too. This is really nice, heavy mug. It's got this stainless steel cup that removes that you can clean and stuff. This is very solid too. This one is made out of wood. It's like handcrafted, amazing wood. You know, it's got a sealant on it, obviously, and you can get like, you know, your name put on it. I have mine, Luke, put on it right there. It's really big. It's massive, huge, crazy. It's stainless steel on the inside, you know. So you got a couple options. This one is so huge, like as big as my head, dude. Almost. Jeez. Yeah. So there you go. That's the story of the mugs. I got an upgrade. I leveled up my mug. Spellcasters are generally ill-advised against for new players, but it is always good to have a spellcaster in a party. What would your recommendation be for an all-new player group? Well, if you're starting with new players, you're probably starting at level 1. If you're not, you definitely should consider starting at level 1 so that they're not overwhelmed with tons of abilities and choices and stuff, and they can learn to play characters with fewer options at level 1 and then grow into all the other abilities as they're learning the game. So assuming you're starting at level 1, I would simply say, hey guys, what do y'all want to play? And if somebody's interested in playing a spellcaster, let them play a spellcaster. You're level 1. There is additional complexity, but it's limited. It's not quite as much as level 5 or 15 or something where you have tons of crazy options. So I agree with you in so much that spellcasters are more complicated to play for new players, but here's the thing. If you have a player that's really interested in doing it, then there's a higher probability that they're going to learn how to do it and they're going to read the rules and get, you know, and figure that stuff out. Also, it depends on your players too, because there are like casual players who will never read the books in between game sessions, who might not even own the books and are really just there to be social. And D&D is an excuse to hang out with friends and they really don't care too much about the game. Those players are never going to read the rules. They're never, it's going to take them 2 years to even understand how to make an attack roll and what modifiers to add, let alone learn how to use spells. And so I wouldn't encourage the players like that to be a spellcaster. But if you have some players that you know are really into D&D and are going to read those books and learn how to do that stuff, then those are the new players that I would encourage more toward being a spellcaster to fill out that role, because they're much more likely to actually learn how to play that stuff, as opposed to, like, I had a player once, she played with us for like 2 years or so, and she never really learned how to play her character. And, you know, I wasn't like, I never made a big deal out of it. It was like, it didn't bother me, you know, it's just, that's who she was as a player. Okay, that's fine. You're still welcome to play with us, you know, but I just know that I'm going to have to help you make a stealth check every time. Like, you've been playing 2 years and we still have to tell you how to make a stealth check sometimes, you know. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but it was just a thing, you know. So for instance, for a player like that, I would not recommend a spellcaster. That's crazy. You know, you'd be helping her decide which spells to cast every single round of combat, and then explaining the rules to her, you know. So it really depends, you know. But if you got someone who's gung-ho and you think they're going to learn this stuff and go and do their homework and whatnot, then definitely it's perfectly fine. Oh, wow. How would you deal with character suicide? We had a player who chucked his character into an unexplored hole, which killed them. And then the player walks away from the group. That sounds like a player who didn't want to play with you anyway. It sounds like the player really just wanted to leave the group, and so he wanted to go out with a bang. I mean, this happened to me at a convention. This happened. So I was running a game. I wasn't running the game. I was playing in a game at a convention, and the game master was just horrible. she was absolutely abysmal. She's railroading us, doing different things and stuff. It was not a fun game. It was really just kind of crappy. And I could tell the players were making comments like, she would say something like, okay, well, you know, you walk over here and you do this. And the player would be like, I do? And she's like, yeah. And the player was basically objecting to her stealing his agency away and doing things, you know, that he should be able to decide whether his character does it or not. So she was basically trying to tell a story as opposed to letting us play a game. And so the players weren't enjoying some of these things. And so it was like a 4-hour game or something. And you could tell the players weren't, after like an hour or two, they were just like, okay, this isn't getting any better. And then they started basically suiciding themselves. They intentionally were doing things to get themselves killed because they didn't want to play the game. They wanted to leave. They wanted to go get Subway or something before the next game session. They just wanted to get away from that table. And having their character die was the most efficient way to just be like, okay, well, I'm dead. Bye. And then leave, you know? So there's always a chance that if somebody just like, you know, does a suicide on their character and then walks away from the game and doesn't come back, that they did it intentionally. Now, there's also the chance that they didn't and their character ended up dying and they were so upset that their character died that they walked away from the game. I would hope that first, the dungeon master is handling that situation in a fair way for the player. As long as the dungeon master is being fair to the player and it was a fair death and they had a chance to recover, it wasn't just, oh, you walked into the hole, yeah, you're dead. That's not fair. You decide to do something and then immediately die. Those types of game mechanics are decidedly unsatisfying. If you look at, for instance, what is that called? What is the name of that adventure that Gary Gygax designed where it's like rocks fall, you die? What is that called? Somebody help me. I'm drawing a mind blank. What is the name of that one where there are so many things that you just do a thing and then you're dead or you lose all your belongings or something? Somebody in chat knows the name of that and I'm drawing a blank. It's a famous Tome of Horrors. Thank you. Tomb of Horrors. Tomb of Horrors. Not Tome, Tomb of Horrors. That is decidedly not fair. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable to just have instant kill mechanics where you're immediately dead or you lose all of your belongings and you're teleported out of the dungeon naked and all of your belongings are in the Tome of Asaract or something. That's not fun. So assuming that we're not talking about that, if the death was fair and they had a chance to recover, but their character ended up dying, and then they got upset and left the game table, there's a part of me that wonders, do I really want a player like that at my game? Now, if I did not handle the situation fairly and they didn't have a chance and it was just really bad gameplay and they walked, that's kind of on me for running a bad game. But if everything was handled properly and their character died and they threw a fit and left, I'm probably gonna wave goodbye and find a new player and not worry about it too much, because a part of me wonders, do I want a player like that on my game table? It was a fair game, a fair death, and they ended up dying. It's a game! It's a game where you're swinging swords and casting fireballs. What do you think's gonna happen from time to time? Your character's gonna die, yo. You make a new character. It's a game. It's not that big of a deal. So if somebody freaks out and leaves, I'm probably not gonna worry about it too much. Probably could find a better player or something that's gonna be okay with playing the game and having death be a possibility. So there's a couple different ways I can see that question going, depending upon the player and different circumstances and stuff like that. So anyway, hope that's useful. Now that you're going all YouTube, are we going to be creating adventures, dungeons, monsters, etc. here? Not really. Mostly the streams are going to be Q&A, just hanging out and stuff. We're not going to do a whole lot of creation streams. I only do one stream a week, and I really want to make myself available to just hang out, answer questions and stuff like that. And when I'm creating stuff, it really is work to me. You know, when I'm trying to run a stream at the same time that I'm creating something, that is really taxing on me. And I really just want to answer people's questions. I feel like that delivers a lot of value to people. I know there are lots of people who like the creation streams. I know that, which is why I'm still gonna have one creation, more or less. There's gonna be one creation stream a month, roughly, and it's almost always gonna be an adventure. We're gonna create adventures together. So roughly one time a month, one of the streams will be adventure creation. And there's a reason I focus on adventure creation. The reason is that, in my opinion, creating adventures is the most challenging thing for a dungeon master to create. And so that is the thing that I want to do on the stream, because then people can come, they can see what the process is, they can learn how to do it themselves, and we create an adventure together that then I give to people for free on my website, thedmlair.com, and people can use in their games. And so that is my reason for why we're only having, one creation stream and why it's going to be adventure creation. It's the most valuable thing that I can teach to people in many ways, and it is creating stuff, and it is one of the most valuable resources that I can offer to the community, having adventures that you can run at your game table. So yes, we will still have those, but it will be reduced. It's been like that for a long time on Twitch anyway. Probably for like 6 months or so, I've been mostly just doing Q&A and not having very many adventure creation stuff. So it's been that way for a while. So that's not really a change or anything. So yeah, Squirty Pie was up there. She goes up there a lot. She just jumps up there and hangs out and then comes down. Yeah. I'm hungry. All right. We need like, ask me your off the wall questions to go out with a bang. I need off the wall crazy questions. Let's have fun. The last 5 minutes, let's have some fun. It doesn't even have to be D&D related, just crazy off the wall questions. Hello, Master. I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the best way to gain authority on the table as the Dungeon Master? You want to impose your authority? Well, you're gonna get your big books out and you're gonna beat them over the head until they collapse into a pile next to their gaming chair. And then you're gonna sprinkle miniatures all over them and watch them weep and cry. That's how you establish your authority. How many gnomes can you fit in a phone booth? 15. Gnomes are small and you can squash them. They don't have to be living gnomes. Like, you might squash them enough that they're no longer living gnomes, but you can get them to fit. My most embarrassing situation ever. Okay, my most embarrassing situation at the game table. One of my players, I had a player who would always bring me like a beer or something to drink during the game session. And I am not a person who drinks a lot. Usually I might get a little bit of a buzz, but never anything more than that. And he brought me something that was very potent and I did not know it. And I was drinking this and it was starting to hit me. And I got to a point where I almost had to lie on the floor because this thing was really strong. And I did not like that. Yeah. So that's probably, is it embarrassing? I don't know if I was embarrassed by it, but I did not like that sensation. And yeah, it did not feel good to lose that control and that was not good. And then later I was like, what was that, dude? Like, what was that? And he's like, what did it call? Dos Locos? There was something Locos or something. I don't know what it was. He told me what it was and I was like, yeah, never bring that again, dude. Don't ever bring that again. It's like, I don't want that. The best cheese? What is that called? It's got jalapeno in it. Pepper jack cheese. No. Queso semiseco. So in Central America, they make the best cheese in the world. Oh my gosh, you guys. Central American cheese is so good. They have this crumbly cheese that's called queso semiseco. It's like half dry cheese. That's literal translation. It doesn't make any sense, but that's what they call it. It is amazing. It's got this very pungent, strong taste to it. My mom tried it out once and she's like, this is disgusting. I hate this. That's because the cheese that we have in America has no flavor. it doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. It's just kind of bland, you know. But this cheese was like, oh, it had kick to it. I love that cheese. It is so good. Oh, it is amazing. Yes, yeah, Four Loco. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, that messed me up. I never want that again, ever. I don't know what that was, but and the can didn't even say it was that high of an alcohol percentage, but it had more kick than anything I've had before. You know, anything. Jeez, I've had hard drinks too before, you know, whiskey and stuff like that, and this was just like kicking me in the face. Yeah, it was horrible. Never want that again. I felt messed up. Drunk DMing is fun as long as everyone at the table is in on it. Oh my gosh. No, I don't want to do that. No, but this wasn't even, you know, I mean, this wasn't even feeling buzzed and just loose and happy. This was, I don't feel good. Like, this is making me feel not good. You know what I mean? Because like when I'm drinking a little bit, I'll just get loose and happy and relaxed and just be like, oh, everything's great. Woo! You know, this wasn't like that. This was like, I don't feel good, dude. I need to lie down. Wow. It was not a good feeling. Yeah, it was not like other stuff. Yeah. Bad. It was bad. Yes. Gabriella. Yes, South America. Oh, you're saying South American cheese. Oh, okay. Yeah. I've never tried anything from South America. I can tell you that Central American cheese that I've tried is amazing. Queso semiseco is what it's called. Oh, it's so good. It's like white, crumbly. Oh, it's so good. How many dice do I own? Not as many. Not that many. I'm not a dice hoarder. I don't care about dice. A lot of the dice I have was given to me by people. I've bought some dice and I have my own dice and stuff, and I have a bunch of dice people have given me. I just don't care about dice a whole lot. Now miniatures, I get excited about miniatures. I like my miniatures. I paint them, I hold them, you know, I pet them, you know. Yeah, I love my miniatures, but I don't care about dice a whole lot. What do you do with players who are always trying to bargain with shopkeepers? Shopkeepers, they might haggle a little bit, but at some point they're just going to be like, the price is the price. It's just not interesting to roleplay that all the time. It's not interesting to roleplay that. What I might just do is tell them, hey, you know, roll me a persuasion check. What'd you get? A 20? Yeah, they'll cut off a couple gold pieces. Make it quick, you know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're done. That's it. That's all she wrote. We're packing it in. We're going to bed. So thank you everyone for hanging out with us. I know I didn't get all your questions. I'm sorry. Lots of people are disappointed. If you didn't get your question answered and you are very, very angry, please message one of my moderators and they will forward your complaint onto me. And then everybody will be happy. My moderators are gonna kill me. Luke, why did you say that? All right, I'm out, guys. Have a good one. Have a good day. Thank you for hanging out. Happy Friday. Bye.